Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. We're doing okay too, just really tired since we've been working non-stop. We wanted to answer a question many of you ask: how does our publishing process work? Most of our audiobooks are first posted on Patreon as paid content. They stay behind a paywall for a few months. After that, they become free to access on Patreon forever. Then, a few weeks later, we upload them to other platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X. Lately, our community hasn't been growing much, and we could really use your help. Please share our site in your Facebook groups, Discord servers, Reddit threads, Twitter, X, or with any friends who might be interested. Every little bit helps and we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for being with us and supporting what we do. Chapter 1, The System Awakens. The classroom was as lively as ever, or at least, it was for everyone else. For Akira Kurogane, it was just another boring day of pretending to listen while barely keeping his head off the desk. The teacher droned on about historical events he'd forget the moment class ended, and his classmates whispered about the latest trending anime and games. Akira yawned, staring out the window, his mind drifting. He'd spent half the night reading fanfics, as usual. His brain was filled with overpowered protagonists, insane abilities, and broken gamer systems. If only life were that interesting. Congratulations. You have been chosen as the sole user of the gamer system. A blue holographic screen popped up in front of his eyes. Akira blinked. Then blinked again. Huh? Initializing system. Loading status. His heart skipped a beat. His mind raced through every possible explanation: lack of sleep, hallucination, some weird prank, but the floating text didn't vanish. He glanced around. No one else seemed to notice it. The teacher kept lecturing, his classmates kept whispering, and the world continued as if nothing had happened. Akira slowly reached forward. His hand passed through the screen. Initialization complete. Welcome, player. Another window popped up. Beginner reward received, 4,000 yen, body purification pill, random B rank skill, 10 system stat points. You've got to be kidding me. His heart pounded in his chest, but his lips curled into a smirk. This wasn't the dream. This wasn't some stupid joke. This was the real deal. A gamer system. He had just become an actual protagonist. Suppressing his excitement, Akira mentally commanded the system to open his status. Status window, name, Akira Kurogane, level 1, title, none, health point, 100/100ths, magic point, 50/50, strength, 5, dexterity, 7, vitality, 5, intelligence, 8, wisdom, 6, luck, 10, stat points, 10. His eyes widened. It was real. He had stats. He could actually level up. And his luck stat, of course it had to be higher than normal. How else would he have gotten something as insane as a gamer system? He was about to dump all his points into dexterity just for fun when the bell rang, signaling the end of class. Students stood up, chatting and packing their bags, but Akira remained seated, staring at the translucent blue windows in front of him. His lips curled into a grin. Life just got a whole lot more interesting. Akira closed the status window, his mind still buzzing with possibilities. If this was truly a gamer system, then that meant quests, levels, skills, everything. He needed to test it out. But first, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. If the system was real, he should still have the 4,000 yen, right? He opened his banking app. Balance, 0 yen. Figures. Funds are stored in inventory. Open inventory. Akira nearly jumped. The system was actively responding to his thoughts. Yes. He whispered under his breath. A new window appeared before him, showing a grid-like inventory screen. Sure enough, inside one of the slots was a small pouch labeled 4,000 yen. He focused on it, and in the next instant, a small bag materialized in his hand. His eyes widened. He quickly stuffed it back into his pocket before anyone could notice. This was beyond insane. He actually had an inventory space. Could he store anything? Inventory can store non-living objects. Maximum weight capacity increases with level. Holy shit. Akira wanted to test it out more, but right now, he had more important things to check. Like the random B rank skill. You have obtained a new skill, shadow step, B rank, type, movement description, allows a user to instantly move up to 5 meters in any direction by merging with the shadows. Cool down, 5 seconds. Akira's grin widened. A teleportation type skill? And with only a 5-second cooldown? This was broken. He could already imagine the ways he could abuse this. Dodging attacks, sneaking past people, escaping sticky situations. This skill alone was enough to change his life. And he had a whole system to explore. But first, he had to play it cool. He couldn't afford to freak out and make people suspicious. If anyone found out about this system, there was no telling what might happen. Governments, corporations, shady organizations, he wasn't about to become some lab rat. He took a deep breath and got up from his seat, stuffing his hands into his pockets as he strolled out of the classroom like nothing had happened. His heart was racing, but outwardly, he was the same lazy, inattentive student as always. As he walked through the crowded hallway, another thought struck him. What about quests? New quest generated. His eyes widened as another screen popped up in front of him. Quest, first steps, description. A true gamer must test their abilities. Complete the following tasks. Use Shadow Step, 01, store an item in inventory, 11, assign at least 1 stat point, 01, reward, 100 system coins, plus 1 stat point. Akira's grin returned. This was it. His life wasn't just some mundane high school existence anymore. This was a game. And he was ready to play. Chapter 2, Training Arc begins. Akira couldn't stop grinning as he walked home from school, his hands stuffed into his pockets. He had spent the entire day playing it cool, acting like his usual inattentive self, but deep inside, he was practically bursting with excitement. A gamer system. Quests. Stats. Skills. This wasn't just some overpowered cheat, this was the ultimate hack to life. As soon as he got home, he locked his room, threw his bag onto the bed, and pulled up his quest log. Quest, first steps, completed, reward, 100 system coins, plus 1 stat point, new quest unlocked, basic training, week 1 description, a true gamer must build a solid foundation. Complete the daily training routine for a week. 100 push-ups, 07, 100 squats, 07 10 kilometers jogging, 07, shadow step practice, 07, weapon handling basics, 07, rewards, random skill, 500 system coins, plus 2 stat points, bonus item. Akira's grin widened. The system wasn't just going to hand him power, he had to work for it. But that was fine. He loved a good grind. Alright, let's do this. Day 1, the pain begins. Why did I think this was a good idea? Akira groaned as he collapsed onto the floor of his bedroom, drenched in sweat. His arms burned, his legs felt like jelly, and his lungs were screaming for air. The system hadn't been lying, this was an actual workout. The push-ups and squats were brutal, but the real killer was the 10 kilometers jogging. He had never run so much in his life, and by the time he finished, he was convinced he was going to die. Training progress, day 1 completed, plus 1 strength, plus 1 dexterity, nice. Akira muttered between gasps, a tired smile forming on his face. He checked his stat screen and saw the increase in numbers. It was small, but it was real progress. Then, there was shadow step practice. At first, he struggled. The skill required him to step into shadows and reappear elsewhere, but his control was shaky. Sometimes, he'd teleport too far, other times too short. Once, he even ended up in his closet by accident. By the end of the night, though, he was getting the hang of it. Shadow step proficiency increased, he also spent some time handling his knife, his weapon of choice. The system provided basic guidance, and he practiced different grips, slashes, and stabs. Weapon handling proficiency increased. This is actually working, he thought, feeling excitement surge through him again. And the best part? Random reward received, minor stamina potion, a free item just for training. This system was insane. Day 7, completing the first training arc. 1 week later, Akira was a different person. His body was leaner, stronger. He wasn't some superhuman yet, but the progress was obvious. Basic training, week 1 completed, reward, random skill, 500 system coins, plus 2 stat points, bonus item, new skill acquired, quick step, C rank, type, movement description, a short burst of speed that allows the user to close the distance instantly. Can be chained with shadow step. Cool down, 3 seconds. Akira whistled. Now that was a useful skill. Bonus item acquired, training weights, adjustable, description, increases the difficulty of physical training. Wearing them boosts stat growth. Classic shonen power-up. Akira chuckled, strapping the weights onto his arms and legs. It was like he was turning into a real anime protagonist. Now, he was finally ready for his next challenge. New quest, first dungeon, preparation phase, mission, purchase supplies and mentally prepare. The dungeon will begin soon. Reward, entry into the first dungeon. The first dungeon. His heart raced. He quickly opened the system shop and browsed through the basic supplies he could afford. Basic rations, 50 system coins, throwing knives, set of 5, 300 system coins, low-grade healing potion, 150 system coins. After stocking up, he took a deep breath. Dungeon entry ready. Would you like to proceed? Akira hesitated for only a second before grinning. Yes. Dungeon 1, Attack on Titan, the beginning. The moment Akira confirmed his entry, his vision blurred. It felt like he was being sucked into a vortex, his body stretching and compressing at the same time. Then, suddenly, he wasn't in his room anymore. He blinked, adjusting to the new environment. The air was heavy with the scent of wood and dirt. The sound of people talking and carts moving filled the streets. He was in a village. Dungeon World, Attack on Titan, assigned identity, random civilian, Shiganshina District. Wait. What? Akira's eyes widened as he processed the words on the system screen. He looked down at himself, his clothes had changed. He wasn't in his school uniform anymore. Instead, he wore simple civilian attire, rough and patched up, fitting the setting of Shiganshina District. He was in Ran Yeager's hometown. The realization hit him like a truck. He was in Attack on Titan. Dungeon rules: you will live here until the end of the Titan War. NPCs will treat you as a real person. Your actions will have consequences. Death is permanent in this dungeon. Akira's breath hitched. Permanent death. That meant if he died here, he was really dead. His grin faded slightly as the weight of the situation sank in. This wasn't just a game anymore. But then, another message appeared. Objective: survive and adapt. Optional: change the fate of this world. His heartbeat slowed, then steadied. This was fine. This was what he had trained for. A normal civilian wouldn't survive in this world, but he wasn't normal anymore. He had a gamer system. His grin returned. Alright then. Let's break this game. Chapter 3, Settling in and Making Plans. Akira sat on the edge of a wooden bed, staring at his hands, still adjusting to the fact that he was here. Shiganshina District. The start of the Attack on Titan storyline. He was inside a world where humanity was on the verge of extinction, surrounded by 50-meter walls that wouldn't hold for much longer. His heart pounded as he inhaled the scent of aged wood and the distant aroma of bread baking. The streets outside were alive with murmurs of civilians going about their daily routines, completely unaware that, in just a few years, their peaceful lives would be shattered by the colossal Titan. He clenched his fists, shaking off the thought. Now wasn't the time to panic. Dungeon objective: survive and adapt. Optional: change the fate of this world. Adapt, huh? He muttered, glancing at himself in a mirror. His new identity had no name assigned, just a civilian. That meant he could build his own life here, at least for a while. And if he wanted to survive, he needed a plan. The system had assigned him an identity, and with that came a place to live, an orphanage near the outskirts of Shiganshina. It was a small, modest building, run by an old woman named Greta, who had taken in children who had lost their parents to accidents, illness, or, on rare occasions, Titan attacks during expeditions. The orphanage wasn't cruel, but it wasn't warm either. Greta did what she could, but resources were always stretched thin. Akira had quickly learned to keep his head down and blend in. There were a handful of other kids, most of whom had formed their own little groups. A few older boys acted as bullies, lording over the younger ones. Nothing extreme, but enough to remind him that the weak always suffered in places like this. He didn't bother making close connections. There was no point. Because in a few years, this place would be gone. After washing up, Akira decided the best way to integrate himself into this world was simple: make connections. And what better way than to start with the main characters themselves? The opportunity arrived faster than expected. As he stepped outside, a small commotion caught his attention near the marketplace. A group of kids were huddled together, seemingly caught in an argument. Curious, he walked closer, only to recognize them immediately. Ren Yeager, standing tall with fire in his eyes, was in the middle of an argument with some older boys. Armin Arlert stood behind him, visibly nervous but supporting Ran's stance, while Mikaza Ackerman stood slightly to the side, watching with quiet intensity. Oh. He had walked right into one of their classic childhood conflicts. Give it back. Ren snapped at one of the older kids, fists clenched. That book belongs to Armin. Akira's eyes flickered toward the book in question. Ah. The one about the world beyond the walls. He sighed. He knew how this would go. The older boys would start a fight, Ren would recklessly charge in, Armin would get pushed around, and Mikaza would end it in an instant. A predictable pattern. But today, he felt like messing with fate. Before Ren could lunge forward, Akira casually stepped between them, hands in his pockets. Oi? He said, his tone lazy. Why are a bunch of kids making such a big deal over a book? The older boys frowned, eyeing him with suspicion. Who are you? One of them sneered. Just a bystander. Akira shrugged. But, seriously, fighting over a book? That's lame. He turned to Ren and smirked. You gonna start swinging again? Ren scowled. They stole it. We can't let them, Akira sighed, shaking his head. Violence isn't always the answer. Ren blinked. What? Sometimes, you gotta be smart. Without another word, Akira suddenly lunged forward, not towards the boys, but towards the book. In a fluid motion, he snatched it out of their hands and flipped back before they could react. The older kid stood there, stunned. Armin's jaw dropped. Whoa. Mikazu's eyes narrowed slightly, analyzing Akira's movements. Ren, after a brief pause, grinned. That was awesome. The older boys, realizing they were outmatched, grumbled something about not being worth it and walked off. Akira casually handed the book back to Armin. Here. Don't let it get stolen again. Armin clutched it tightly, eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you. Ren slapped Akira's shoulder. That was cool. What's your name? Akira smirked. Akira. And just like that, he had successfully entered their circle. Mapping out the town, the next few days passed quickly. Akira integrated himself smoothly into life in Shiganshina. Carla and Grisha Jaeger welcomed him without question, happy that Ren had made another friend. But while the others played and dreamed about the world beyond the walls, he was planning his escape. The colossal titan would appear soon. And when it did, everything would fall apart. So, he started mapping. New skill unlocked, observe, D-rank, description, grants basic insight into people, objects, and surroundings. Higher proficiency reveals more details. New skill unlocked, mapping, C-rank, description, passively records areas visited, creating a personal map. Can highlight escape routes and important locations. He spent hours walking around the district, memorizing everything. The layout of houses, back alleys, guard patrol routes. He noted which buildings were structurally weak, where people gathered the most, and which areas had hidden passages. Even the walls' gates. Because when the Titans came, escape would only be possible if he knew every path better than anyone. A quiet realization one evening, as they sat near the riverbank, Akira found himself staring at the sunset, deep in thought. Ren sat beside him, skipping stones across the water. What do you think is out there? He asked, eyes filled with curiosity. Beyond the walls? Akira remained silent for a moment before answering. Freedom. Ren turned to him, surprised. You really believe that? Akira smirked. Yeah. But freedom isn't free. Ren clenched his fists. Then I'll fight for it. Akira chuckled, glancing up at the sky. The countdown had begun. He had integrated himself. Made connections. Mapped the town. Now, all that was left was surviving the day the Titans arrived. Chapter 4, the calm before the storm days turned into weeks, and I started to settle into my new reality in Shiganshina. Training in secret had become part of my routine, and while my system had given me a solid start, I knew I couldn't rely on it alone. Every morning before sunrise, I'd wake up early and sneak out to practice my footwork, strength, and stamina. Shadow step, my movement skill, was getting better by the day, though I still had a long way to go before it felt natural. But what surprised me the most was how quickly I had become close to Ren, Mikazu, and Armin. Oi, you still daydreaming? Ren nudged me in the ribs, a smirk on his face. Come on, we're going to the river today. Hans said he'd let us tag along while he patrols. Hans? I raised an eyebrow. That lazy drunk? Armin chuckled. He's not that bad, you know. He does care about us. Mikazu, as usual, remained silent but gave a slight nod in agreement. She was always protective of Ren, but I had noticed she had started to treat me similarly. Maybe because I was always hanging around Ren, or maybe because she could tell I was holding back something about myself. Fine, fine. I sighed. Let's go before he decides to get drunk and ditches us. The streets of Shiganshina bustled with activity. Merchants shouted, advertising their goods, children ran through the alleyways playing games, and workers hauled goods from one end of town to another. I had spent enough time here now to recognize some of the locals. Hey, you kids better not cause trouble. An old fruit vendor waved a wrinkled hand at us. Ren rolled his eyes. We're not causing trouble. Not yet, anyway. I muttered under my breath, making Armin snicker. We passed by a group of soldiers near the gate, standing around lazily. They weren't the Survey Corps, of course. Just some relaxed garrison members with no real worries. You think the Titans will ever come? One of them asked his comrade. Nah. They've been quiet for 100 years. The other replied, stretching his arms. We're safe behind the walls. I fought the urge to scoff. If only they knew. Hans was exactly where Ren said he would be, near the river, drinking from a bottle that was probably filled with something stronger than water. Oi, Hans. Ren called. We came to help. Hans turned, squinting at us before grinning. Ah, if it isn't the brats. Help, you say? Ha. You're just here to run around and get in trouble. Mikazu tilted her head slightly. Ren wanted to come. Oi? That makes it sound like it's my fault. Ren protested. Hans laughed heartily, taking another swig. Fine, fine. Just don't wander too far. And if you see anything suspicious, run, got it? Suspicious? Right. Because that's exactly what was about to happen. The day passed with ease. We ran through the district, watched the boats sail in the river, and even managed to steal some extra bread when no one was looking. But I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. Something was coming. And I knew exactly what it was. And then, it happened. A deafening boom shook the entire district. The ground trembled as the air filled with dust and smoke. I knew what was coming, but seeing it with my own eyes still left me breathless. The wall. The wall had been breached. People screamed, scrambling in panic. The ground beneath us quaked again as something enormous loomed over the broken gate. The colossal titan. Its steaming, skinless body towered above everything. I felt my stomach drop as its speedy eyes surveyed the town. Then, as if moving in slow motion, its massive foot lifted. And it kicked the gate in. A shockwave of debris and fire erupted, throwing me backward. My ears rang as my vision spun. When I finally pushed myself up, the world around me was chaos. People crushed under falling stone. Buildings collapsing. And then, titans. Dozens of them poured in through the breach, their grotesque faces twisted into eerie smiles. A mother clutched her child as a titan snatched her up, her scream cut off as jagged teeth clamped down. Blood splattered onto the ground like spilled wine. A soldier rushed forward with a spear, only for another titan to snatch him mid-stride, his body flailing before being swallowed whole. The stench of blood, smoke, and burning wood filled the air. I could hear the crunch of bones, the shrill cries of people begging for help. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to move. Ren was already up, his face contorted with rage. No. No. His fists clenched. Mom. My eyes widened. Right. Carly Yeager. She was still in her house. We had to move. I grabbed Ren by the shoulder. Ren. We have to go, now. No. He thrashed against my grip, desperation in his eyes. My mom, there's no time. I yelled, dragging him along as my Kaza followed, her own expression tight with fear. We sprinted through the crumbling streets, dodging falling debris and panicked citizens. Hans ran toward us, eyes wild with terror. You kids. He panted, grabbing Ren. We have to get out of here. Mom is still, I know. Hans' face twisted with pain, his hands shaking. But if we go back, we die too. Ren's eyes filled with rage and anguish, his body trembling as he saw what I saw. His mother. Trapped beneath the rubble. Her eyes met Ren's. Fear. Love. And resignation. The titan loomed above her, drool dripping from its lips. Run. Carla whispered. Please. Run. Mom. Hans tightened his grip and bolted, dragging us with him. The last thing I saw was Carly Yeager, smiling through her tears. Then the titan struck. Chapter 5, Shiganshina Falls Chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. The streets were no longer recognizable. They were littered with bodies, blood seeping into the cracks of the cobblestone roads. Smoke filled the air, choking out the sky, turning the once vibrant district into a scene straight from hell. We ran. We had no choice. Hans dragged us away, his grip on Ren like iron. Ren screamed, his body writhing against Hans' hold, tears streaming down his face as he thrashed like a wild animal. No. Let me go. Mom. Mom. His voice was raw, breaking apart with every desperate cry. I kept running alongside them, my mind barely able to process what I had just seen. Carly Yeager, crushed under rubble, her legs pinned, her face contorted in pain, yet even in her final moments, all she cared about was her son's safety. And then the titan. That grotesque, mindless monster. Its massive fingers wrapped around her, lifting her into the air. A sickening crack as her bone snapped under the force of its grip. Her final smile. Her last whispered words. And then, chomp. I squeezed my eyes shut as the memory replayed in my mind, but it was burned into me now. It would never leave. Ren's screams turned into broken sobs. My Kaza, usually so composed, was trembling. Her fingers clenched around her scarf, her eyes locked onto Ren as if trying to anchor him, to protect him in any way she could. Ding. A cold, mechanical sound cut through my thoughts. System alert, you have survived the fall of Shiganshina, 5,000 system coins earned. A rank reward, unlocked. Claim now. I sucked in a sharp breath, my system appearing in front of me as a translucent screen. The words glowed faintly, the only thing in this nightmare that felt remotely out of place. I didn't hesitate. Claim a rank reward? Yes. Another alert popped up instantly. A rank reward, skill, combat instinct, passive, Description: a honed sense of combat awareness. Your body reacts before your mind does, increasing evasion, reflexes, and reaction speed by 30% in dangerous situations. I exhaled slowly. This was good. It wouldn't make me unstoppable, but it would increase my chances of survival. I could feel it already, my body lighter, my muscles more responsive, my senses sharpening. I glanced at the others. They had no idea what I had just received. And they never would. The evacuation efforts were barely holding together. The remaining garrison soldiers shouted orders, trying to keep civilians moving. The boats leading to the inner gate were filling up quickly, people pushing, shoving, trampling over one another in blind panic. "We can't all get through," a soldier shouted. "We have to close the gate soon." I looked back toward the wall. Titans poured through the broken gate, crushing everything in their path. Shiganshina was done for. Then, as if the nightmare wasn't already unbearable, a shadow loomed overhead. A deafening boom as something massive landed on the inner side of the wall Maria Gate, blocking off the only path to safety. The armored titan. A monster of solid, plated muscle and hardened flesh. It rose from its landing crouch, steam hissing off its armored body, its unhuman eyes locking on to the fleeing survivors. I felt the blood drain from my face. "No." Armin's voice barely came out. "No, no, no." The armored titan lowered its stance, and then, it charged. Faster than anything that big had the right to be. It tore through the landscape like a battering ram, each thunderous step sending shockwaves through the ground. Straight toward the inner gate. "Move." A soldier screamed. "Get back." We barely had time to register what was happening before it slammed into the gate with full force. Boom. The impact sent a shockwave so powerful it knocked dozens of people off their feet. The massive metal doors of Wall Maria, our last hope of escape, shattered. The inner gate crumbled, pieces of reinforced metal and stone flying in every direction. Dust exploded outward, coating everything in a thick, suffocating fog. Silence. Then, as the dust cleared, we saw the impossible. Wall Maria had been breached. The Titans had a clear path into the inner territory. And humanity's worst nightmare had just begun. The boats were leaving, some of them overloaded, some tipping over from the sheer weight of the people trying to board. Ren. Mikasa. I grabbed them both. "We need to get out of here." Ren was still in shock, his eyes hollow, his fists trembling. Mikasa was barely keeping it together, but she nodded. We pushed through the crowd, moving as quickly as possible. Soldiers were trying to hold a last defensive line, but it was useless. Titans didn't care about defenses. A blood-curdling scream cut through the air. A child had fallen from one of the boats, his mother reaching out desperately. A Titan's hand snatched him up. The mother wailed, clawing at the soldiers holding her back. "My son. Please." I gritted my teeth. My fingers twitched toward my knife. But I couldn't do anything. Not yet. Not here. We reached the last boat. A soldier grabbed us, shoving us forward. "Go. We're closing off." The boat rocked violently as we stepped onto it. The water was rough, carrying us toward the inner wall, further away from the burning ruins of Shiganshina. Ren stared back at his home, his hands clenching into fists so tight his knuckles turned white. His lips moved, but his voice was barely a whisper. "I'll kill them." Mikasa turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Ren. I'll kill them all." His voice was steel now. Cold, sharp, filled with rage. Every last one of them. I watched him, something heavy settling in my chest. This was it. This was the moment Ren Yeager was truly born. And as we sailed toward Walrose, leaving behind the ruins of our childhood, I knew one thing for certain. This war was just beginning. System alert, quest complete, survive the fall of Shiganshina. Rewards, 10,000 system coins. New stat unlocked, resolve, determination and willpower will now directly affect your combat ability. Hidden achievement unlocked, witness to humanity's despair special bonus, +5 to all stats. I closed my eyes, letting the weight of everything crash down on me. This world was cruel. And I had just gotten my first taste of it. But I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Chapter 6, The Aftermath of Shiganshina. The boat rocked beneath us as we drifted further away from the ruins of Shiganshina. The fires continued to rage in the distance, turning the sky a sickening shade of red. Screams had long since faded, swallowed by the night, but their echoes remained. The silence on the boat was unbearable. Ren sat motionless, his fists clenched so tightly that his nails had drawn blood from his palms. His eyes were vacant, locked onto the distant destruction of his home. Mikasa sat beside him, unmoving, as if afraid to speak. Armin shivered next to me, his breathing unsteady, his hands wrapped around himself as if that would stop the memories from clawing at his mind. And me? I just stared at the water, my reflection barely visible beneath the ripples. My body felt light, yet impossibly heavy. The system messages in my vision flickered, demanding attention, but I ignored them for now. The weight of what had happened pressed down on my chest. Han sat near the edge of the boat, gripping his flask with a trembling hand. He looked older somehow, as if the weight of failure had settled into his very bones. I had always known Hans as a relaxed, easygoing soldier, someone who laughed too easily and drank too much. But tonight, there was no laughter. Ren finally moved. We could have saved her. His voice was cold. Not with anger, not yet. Just a quiet, empty kind of fury. Hans flinched, but he didn't deny it. I was scared, he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I looked at that titan, and I knew I couldn't win. I ran. I ran like a coward. Ren's fists tightened. Then get stronger. Hans blinked at him. Ren's voice grew louder, shaking with emotion. We can't stay weak. We can't let them win. The titans took everything from us. Our homes, our families. My mother. His breathing hitched, but he pressed on. If we don't fight, we'll keep losing. We have to get stronger. We have to kill them. Mikasa placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. He exhaled shakily, but the fire in his eyes didn't dim. If anything, it burned brighter. We arrived at Wall Rose as the first light of dawn stretched across the sky. The refugees from Shiganshina spilled onto the land, haggard, broken, their eyes filled with nothing but exhaustion and grief. Soldiers tried to organize them, directing them to shelters, but there were too many. Too many lost, too many displaced. The smell of sweat, blood, and despair clung to the air like a curse. I walked beside the trio, my mind still processing everything. We weren't the same people who had left Shiganshina. That part of our lives had been buried beneath rubble and titan footprints. Name? A soldier asked, clipboard in hand. Ren Yeager. Mikasa Ackerman. Armin Arlert. When it was my turn, I hesitated for a split second. Then I spoke the name the system had assigned me for this world. Akira Kurogane. The soldier barely glanced up before scribbling it down. Follow the others. We moved forward, passing the crowd of survivors who were being corralled into makeshift camps. I scanned the area, noting the soldiers standing guard, the medics tending to the wounded. Food was being distributed in meager portions. Resources were stretched thin. Starvation was coming. And with it, desperation. The days that followed were bleak. Rations were cut. People fought over scraps. The government was indifferent, too busy calculating how many refugees they could afford to keep alive. Those unfit to work or fight would eventually be sent to reclaim Wall Maria, a fancy way of saying they were being sent to die. It was a cruel system. But that was this world. Cruel. Through it all, we trained. Ren, Mikasa, Armin, and I. At first, it was simple, basic exercises to build our bodies back up after days of malnourishment. Ren pushed himself the hardest, his grief fueling him like fire. Mikasa was a prodigy, her movements already fluid, efficient. Armin struggled, but he never gave up. And me? I trained in secret when no one was looking, using my system to push myself beyond normal human limits. System quest, strengthen the body, complete 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 10 kilometers jogging for 7 days reward, +3 strength, +3 endurance, +2 agility, random item each day. I grew stronger. Each day, my control over my ability sharpened. Each day, I became more prepared for what was coming. One evening, we sat outside, watching the dim glow of lanterns scattered across the refugee camp. Ren leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. I'm joining the military. Armin looked up. The training corps? Ren nodded. Yeah. If we want to fight back, we need to learn. We need to become soldiers. Mikasa didn't speak, but I saw the way her fingers curled slightly. She had already made her decision. Wherever Ren went, she would follow. Armin hesitated, his hands tightening around his sleeves. I want to go too. Ren looked at him, surprised. Are you sure? Armin took a shaky breath, but his gaze was firm. I don't want to be useless anymore. I want to help. I want to make a difference. Ren grinned, slapping his back. Then let's do it. Together. They turned to me. Ren? I smiled slightly. You already know my answer. Ren smirked. Then it's settled. We'll join the training corps. And after that, we'll take back everything we lost. I glanced at my system's screen one last time before dismissing it. A new path had opened. And with it, new challenges. The next step in our journey had begun. Chapter 7, Blood and Soil. The wind carried the scent of freshly tilled earth and a lingering stench of charred wood. Shiganshina had fallen, but the echoes of that day still roamed freely in my mind. Days had passed, yet the pain was fresh, raw, and unrelenting. I had spent every moment training, forcing my body past its limits, and yet, it never felt like enough. Ren, Mikasa, Armin, and I had signed up for the training corps, our shared goal binding us tighter than ever before. As we stood before the entrance of the training grounds, the weight of our choices pressed upon us. The 104th Training Corps loomed ahead, a place that would mold us into soldiers. Or break us. This is it. Ren muttered, his fists clenching. It's just training. I said, forcing a grin. How bad can it be? Armin sighed. Famous last words. Before we could dwell on that thought, a deep, thunderous voice shattered the air. Welcome to hell, you useless maggots. A massive man with a square jaw and a gaze that could pierce steel stormed toward us. Keith Shady's head instructor. He wasted no time in making his presence known. The next hour was a blur of yelling, running, and a distinct sensation of my soul leaving my body as Shady's tore through us like a hurricane of rage. Jaeger. You look like you're ready to pick a fight with a titan. Good. You'll be dead first. Alert. Do you think this is a library? Stand up straight before I break your spine. Kurogen. That's the face of a man who thinks he's clever. Drop down and give me 50. I barely had the strength to groan before my arms started working on instinct. This man was relentless. System update, achievement unlocked, the boot camp blues reward, farm element unlocked. Feature added. I froze mid-push-up. Wait. What? My system had given me some pretty solid upgrades before. Strength, agility, stealth skills. And now? A farm element? No way. I muttered. A secondary window popped up. Farm element unlocked, congratulations. As a reward for suffering through boot camp and entertaining the unseen audience, the farm system has been installed. Grow crops, raise livestock, and enjoy the simple farmer life. Warning, this feature is purely for humor and stress relief. Do not expect actual battle utility. I wanted to scream. I survived a Titan attack. I was preparing for war. And my system thought this was the best time to give me a virtual farm. I glanced at the others. No one seemed to notice my internal crisis. Ren was still fuming at Shades. Mikasa was stoic, as always. Armin looked ready to pass out. I don't know whether to be impressed or insulted. I muttered under my breath. The training begins. The first few days of training were grueling. Running, hand-to-hand combat, endurance drills that made my muscles scream in protest. The most important test was the vertical maneuvering equipment. This was the core of being a soldier in the Survey Corps. If you couldn't master omnidirectional mobility gear, you had no business fighting titans. Alright, maggots. Shades bellowed. You either hang, or you drop. No second chances. The harnesses were uncomfortable, the belts digging into my sides. Around me, the other trainees struggled to balance themselves. I caught glimpses of familiar faces, Sasha struggling to stop spinning, Connie flailing, Jean looking way too confident for someone who was seconds from face planting. Ren was tense, determination burning in his eyes. Just lean into it. I told him. Trust your center. He nodded, but I could see the nervous energy thrumming through him. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath and let my body adjust. The sensation of weightlessness was strange but not unfamiliar. Years of sneaking around in the dungeon had given me a natural instinct for balance. I controlled my breathing and, click. I stabilized instantly. Humphrey. Lucky bastard. Jean muttered. It's called skill, horseface. I shot back. Jean bristled. What did you just call me? Before I could retort, Ren yelled as he lost control and flipped upside down. Ren. Armin gasped. Shades narrowed his eyes. Jaeger. You better figure it out, or I'll throw you into a titan's mouth. Ren gritted his teeth, struggling to balance himself. And then, miraculously, he did. His face lit up. I did it. Mikasa sighed in relief. Armin clapped, and I smirked. Not bad. Ren grinned. You doubted me? You were upside down a second ago. He scowled. Shut up. Keeping an eye on the future as the days passed, I kept my training up, but more than that, I observed Annie, Reiner, and Berthold. I knew their secrets. I knew what they were. But I couldn't act yet. Any sudden change in behavior would draw suspicion, and right now, I had to stay in the background. I kept my conversations neutral, occasionally sparring with Annie but never pushing too hard. She was strong, far stronger than she let on. Every time we fought, I could feel her testing me, trying to gauge what I was capable of. Reiner and Berthold. They played the long game, blending in with the other trainees. Their patience was terrifying. I would act when the time was right. For now, I would train, grow stronger, and prepare. A grim reminder: a week into training, we were sent to an abandoned village outside Walrose for a simulated rescue mission. The houses were eerily silent, the remnants of lives once lived scattered about. It was a grim reminder of what had happened to Shiganshina. Ren stood still, staring at a broken toy on the ground. "Ren," Mikasa said softly. He clenched his jaw. "How many more towns will end up like this?" I didn't have an answer. The mission was routine, searching for survivors, reporting damages. But it felt more like a wake than an exercise. I found an old book in one of the houses. It was filled with stories of life before the walls were built, of open fields and skies that stretched beyond the horizon. I tucked it into my coat, a small piece of history worth preserving. As we left the village, I glanced back one last time. A future outside these walls. Was such a thing possible? I clenched my fists. If it wasn't, I would make it so. Chapter 8, Forging Strength in the Shadows. The sun had barely risen when the shrill sound of a whistle ripped through the training grounds. I groaned, rolling off my cot as Ren bolted upright, wide-eyed and alert as if he'd been expecting a titan to burst through the barracks. "Up and out, maggots." Shade's voice thundered through the camp. "You have 2 minutes to be in formation, or I'll personally throw you over the wall." "He's too energetic for this early," I muttered, rubbing my eyes. "Someone should slip sleeping powder in his tea." Armin gave me a horrified look. "That's kind of illegal. Only if you get caught." I shot back with a grin before grabbing my uniform. System update, achievement unlocked, surviving Shade's screams reward, +1 mental fortitude, because listening to this man daily is torture. I chuckled under my breath as I sprinted outside, falling into line beside Ren and Mikasa. The 104th Training Corps had been grueling, but the intensity had only made me sharper. Stronger. I had to be because the weight of what was coming pressed heavily on my shoulders. I was living inside Attack on Titan. The story was progressing exactly as it should, and soon enough, humanity would face the devastation of Titans once again. I couldn't stop what was coming, but I could prepare. And so could the people around me. Mastering omnidirectional mobility gear today, you'll be working in teams to navigate the obstacle course using omnidirectional mobility gear. Shades announced. If you can't coordinate, you die. If you hesitate, you die. If you whine, I'll make sure you die before the Titans can. Beside me, Jean let out a long, suffering sigh. Why does it feel like he wants us to die? It builds character, I replied. Ren grinned. Like hell we're failing. Let's go, Akira. We launched ourselves into the course, and the rush of air against my face was exhilarating. The omnidirectional mobility gear was still the best part of training. There was something almost addictive about swinging between the trees, controlling the momentum, and adjusting my trajectory mid-air. You're improving. My cousin noted as she kept pace beside me, her movements effortlessly precise. Was that a compliment? I teased. Don't get used to it. She deadpanned before shooting ahead. Armin struggled slightly, his movements more hesitant, but he was learning. Jean and Connie were ahead of him, while Sasha had somehow detoured towards the kitchen barracks. Sasha, get back on course. Shades barked. I swear I smelled bread. She protested before launching herself away. I snorted. Some things never changed. System alert, new skill acquired, tactical awareness allows for faster reaction time in combat scenarios. Improves ability to predict enemy movement. Can now instinctively tell when someone is about to do something really stupid. I tested the new skill immediately, subtly adjusting my movements as I zipped around the course. It felt natural, as if my body was responding to things a fraction of a second before they happened. Alright, I can work with this. Akira. Heads up. Ren shouted. A flash of movement in my peripheral vision signaled someone losing control. Annie. She had miscalculated a turn and was about to slam into a tree. I reacted before thinking, angling my body midair and colliding with her just in time to push us both into a controlled spin. We landed with a heavy thud, rolling onto the ground. Ow! I groaned. Annie blinked at me, her expression unreadable. You had time to react to that? Skill. I said with a smirk. Or maybe I just like saving cute girls from faceplanting. She rolled her eyes, but there was the faintest hint of amusement in her gaze as she stood up. Don't get used to it. Mikasa, watching from above, narrowed her eyes slightly. Ren landed beside me, grinning. That was awesome. I swear you saw that coming before it even happened. Maybe I did. I muttered under my breath, glancing at the system screen only I could see. Months passed, and we finally reached the day of our graduation. The top 10 were announced, and to no one's surprise, Mikasa ranked first. I placed decently well, though I hadn't exactly tried to outshine anyone. Ren was pumped about getting into the scout regiment, while Jean looked bitter about his placement. Despite ranking well, he still wasn't sure about his future. Alright, you brats. An officer barked. You've graduated, but don't get comfortable. You'll be assigned to different units soon. We celebrated that night with some stolen food, courtesy of Sasha, and some banter about what was to come. The garrison seemed safe enough. Connie mused. But the scouts? Man, that's where the action is. Exactly why I'm going there. Ren said firmly. Jean scoffed. You're insane. Insanity is relative. I quipped, sipping my drink. Give it a year. Maybe you'll be the crazy one. Jean shot me a look but said nothing. But the peace didn't last. The moment the colossal titan appeared over the wall, everything went to hell. The explosion sent debris flying, and the shockwave knocked several people off their feet. The air filled with screams, dust, and the overwhelming stench of burning wood and flesh. Titans. Someone screamed. They're inside the wall. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to stay calm. I knew this was coming, but it doesn't make it any easier. Ren was already rushing forward. We have to fight. Armin looked frozen in horror. Mikaze's hand was already on her blades. Ren, stick to the plan. I shouted, forcing him to focus. We protect civilians first. We don't have enough forces to fight head-on yet. Damn it. He clenched his fists but nodded. We ran towards the inner districts, helping people evacuate. The titans that followed were nightmare fuel, mindless, grinning, devouring everything in their path. A large one grabbed a man, crushing his ribs before biting down. Blood sprayed everywhere. Armin gagged. Mikaze tightened her grip on her weapons. Ren was trembling with rage. Akira. Someone called. It was Hans. We need to get everyone out. I shouted. This isn't a fight we can win right now. Hans hesitated, but when he saw the titans pouring in, he nodded. You're right. Prioritize the civilians. We ran. People screamed. The world burned. And this was only the beginning. System alert, new mission unlocked, survive the fall of Shiganshina rewards? I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I have to survive. We all do. Chapter 9, The Fall of Trust, a battle against fate. The battlefield was chaos. The titans had breached Walrose, and the newly graduated soldiers found themselves in a nightmare come to life. The colossal shadows of the titans loomed over Trust, their grotesque grins sending waves of terror through the recruits. The air was thick with the scent of blood and the screams of the dying. It was exactly as I remembered from the manga, but experiencing it firsthand was something else entirely. My body felt lighter, faster, sharper, undeniably thanks to the body purification pill I had taken when I first got the system. I had noticed it before, in training, how my stamina outlasted others, how my reflexes had been a fraction quicker. But now, in actual combat, I realized just how much of an advantage it was. I could see details others missed, react a split second faster than even the most seasoned soldiers. Yet, even with gamer's mind, I felt it, the raw, crushing fear. Akira. Armin shouted, eyes wide with panic as a titan's massive foot slammed into the ground mere meters away from us. My mind snapped into focus, processing the situation instantly. The titan is shifting its weight, meaning it's about to lunge. Escape route? Left alley, no, blocked by debris. Right? Open, but too narrow. The only way, jump. I shouted, grabbing Armin and launching us both backward just as the titan's hand swiped down. The shockwave sent dust and splintered wood flying. I hit the ground and rolled, barely keeping my balance. Ren, already in motion, slashed his blades through the nape of a smaller titan nearby. Stay focused. We've trained for this. His voice was steady, but his hands shook as he landed. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to adapt. This isn't a game. The pain, the death, it's real. But so am I. As the battle raged on, I worked alongside the others, strategically cutting down titans while analyzing the battlefield. I remembered which characters survived this battle and which ones shouldn't, but would I intervene? Should I? I spotted a group of soldiers about to be overrun. In canon, only one survives. If I act now, my body moved before my mind could finish debating. I launched myself toward them, slicing through the titan's Achilles tendon and sending it crashing down. Move. I barked at the soldiers. One hesitated, eyes wide in disbelief. That hesitation would have killed him in the manga. I grabbed his collar and threw him aside just as another titan lunged. Blood splattered across my uniform as I twisted midair, narrowly dodging a titan's grasp. My blade sang as I brought them down in a clean, precise cut. The titan screeched as its nape was sliced through, and I landed smoothly, heart pounding but body moving on instinct. System notification, you have altered fate. +1 system reward lottery ticket. I smirked. That's what I thought. As the battle dragged on, exhaustion settled in, but my enhanced stamina kept me moving. I noticed Annie fighting efficiently, her expression as unreadable as ever. She's the female titan, but right now, She's just another soldier. She caught my gaze for a brief moment before returning to her fight. Don't die, Kurogen. I raised an eyebrow. That was new. I shrugged, slicing through another titan's nape. No promises. My Kaza moved like a shadow, her form perfect, efficient, deadly. She landed next to me, flicking the blood off her blades. You're keeping up. Surprised? I grinned, panting slightly. She gave me a rare glance, one of acknowledgement. No. The tide of battle began to shift. We were holding on, but just barely. My mind raced. What's next? What's the key event? And then it happened. A deafening explosion of steam filled the air. The heat was suffocating. The colossal titan had appeared again. The battlefield froze. My heartbeat quickened. This is it. Ren, standing nearby, clenched his fists. It's the same as before. He muttered. That damn thing. I knew what was coming next. I took a deep breath. This is the moment Ren loses everything. The smiling titan appeared. I had never hated anything more in my life. Ren, get back. I shouted, but he was already moving. Too late. The titan's hand came down. Karliager was trapped. The next few seconds felt agonizingly slow. Ren screamed, struggling against Han's grip. My Kaza's eyes widened, pain flashing through them as she reached out. Armin looked away, shaking, unable to face what was coming. And I could only watch. Because this was an event that could not change. The system remained silent. No altered fate notification. Because Karliager was meant to die. A weight settled in my chest as the titan's jaws closed around her. Ren's scream echoed through the burning ruins of Drost. And I clenched my fists, feeling utterly powerless. System notification, new quest, rage against the titans. Objective, survive the Battle of Trust. Bonus, engage in direct combat with a titan, rewards vary by contribution. A new quest. A cold fury settled over me. If I couldn't change Carla's fate, then I would make sure the titans paid for it in blood. I grabbed my blades, gritting my teeth as I launched myself forward. The battle was far from over. Chapter 10, The Cost of Defiance. Blood and dust filled the air as the battle for Trost continued in full force. The once bustling district was now a graveyard of broken buildings and crushed bodies, the scent of iron and smoke hanging heavily over everything. The distant screams of civilians were fading as survivors made their way to the inner gate, but the recruits, myself included, were still locked in a desperate fight against the titans. Ren, Armin, and the rest of the squad were further ahead, fending off a cluster of titans near a collapsed structure. I kept my distance, supporting from the rooftops, slicing through any stray titans that got too close. My gamer's mind kept my emotions in check, but the sheer scale of death made my stomach tighten. This wasn't just another fight, it was war. The system farm window blinked in my vision again. System farm update, new battlefield harvest detected, titan flesh remnants, processing. Usable biomaterial extracted. Stored in inventory. What the hell am I supposed to do with titan flesh? I muttered as I landed on a rooftop, flipping my knife in irritation. Akira. A voice called out. I turned to see Hans, his face drenched in sweat, blade stained with titan blood. We need to regroup. The outer perimeter is lost. I nodded. Where's everyone else? The recruits are scattered, trying to hold ground. Some of your squad is running out of gas. Hans panted. We need to push toward the inner gate before we're overrun. Before I could respond, a deafening crash shook the area. A titan, easily 15 meters tall, plowed through a row of buildings like they were made of paper. And at the heart of the destruction, a familiar green cloak fluttered. Ren. He was fighting, hacking through titans like a man possessed, his rage-fueled strikes driven by pure willpower. I knew how this played out, but seeing it firsthand sent chills down my spine. His blade cut through flesh, his omnidirectional mobility gear carrying him through the battlefield with a reckless determination that made him look like an untamed storm. But then it happened. A blur of movement. A titan from behind. A single moment of vulnerability. Teeth clamped down. Ren. Armin's scream was raw, filled with horror as blood splattered in all directions. The titan chewed once, then swallowed. Time seemed to stop. I gripped my knife tighter, my brain working overtime. It happened. The turning point. I had seen this moment in the manga 1,000 times, yet witnessing it now, in real time, sent an unnatural stillness through my body. Armin collapsed onto the rooftop, trembling, eyes wide with shock. Mikasa, who had been cutting down titans with machine-like precision, suddenly froze, her grip tightening around her blades until her knuckles turned white. The battlefield didn't care. Titans kept coming. I cursed under my breath, launching myself forward. We have to move. I grabbed Armin's arm, shaking him. We can't stop now. His eyes snapped to mine, unfocused and lost. He's gone. Snap out of it. I hissed, shoving him toward the nearest rooftop. We don't have the luxury to grieve right now. We need to survive first. My cause's breathing was ragged, but she didn't break down. Not yet. Instead, she redirected her fury toward the nearest titan, cutting through its nape with terrifying precision. Her anchor. The only thing keeping her together was her need to keep fighting. The battle raged on. My affection meter flickered in the corner of my vision. Armin Arlert, 80, shaken but grateful. My cause Ackerman, 70, determination/unspoken trust, hands, 65, respect/growing confidence in me, TCH, this damn thing keeps updating at the worst times. I muttered, slicing through another titan's nape. Still, it was good to know where I stood with people. A new system notification appeared. System notification, achievement unlocked, guiding light, reward, +5 intelligence, +3 charisma. I ignored it for now. Survival came first. The inner gate was in sight, but the titans were relentless. More and more recruits were falling, their screams cut short as they were snatched up and devoured. The scene was horrifying, even for me, who had braced myself for it. And then, out of nowhere, the colossal titan appeared in my mind. Bertolt's still out there. And so is the armored titan. I had information no one else did. Knowledge that could change things. But how much could I risk? If I interfered too much, could I break the very sequence of events that led to humanity's victory? Before I could dwell on it, a roar unlike any other shook the battlefield. A new presence. My eyes darted toward the wreckage where Ren had been devoured. And then, the ground exploded. A titan, one unlike any other, rose from the debris, its eyes burning with a savage fury. The attack titan. A slow grin tugged at my lips despite the chaos. Well, looks like the show's about to get interesting. The tide of battle had just shifted. The impact of Ren's transformation sent a shockwave across the battlefield, momentarily stunning the titans. The massive, muscular frame of the attack titan stood tall amidst the destruction, steaming with raw power. Its emerald eyes burned with an unrelenting rage, a stark contrast to the mindless hunger of the surrounding titans. No way. Armin whispered, his body still shaking. That titan. It's fighting the others. My cause didn't hesitate. We need to regroup with the others. We can't waste this opportunity. I nodded, but my mind was racing. Ren's first transformation was key to humanity's counterattack. I needed to ensure everything played out as close to the original events as possible. As we maneuvered through the ruined district, the carnage continued. Ren's titan roared, charging at the nearest enemy, tackling it into a crumbling wall before slamming its fists into the creature's face with unrelenting force. The scene was pure chaos, yet oddly beautiful in its own terrifying way. A system notification appeared again. System notification, hidden event triggered, witnessing the Titan's rebirth, bonus reward, +10 system coins, unique skill, Battle Sense. I glanced at the new skill. Battle Sense, passive, enhances perception and reaction time in combat situations. Increased awareness of enemy attacks and movement. Oh, hell yes. I muttered under my breath. That was going to come in handy. With Ren wreaking havoc on the battlefield, a spark of hope ignited in the hearts of the remaining soldiers. The fight wasn't over yet, but for the first time since the attack began, it felt like we had a chance. The battle for Trost was far from finished, but now, with Ren's newfound power, we had a Titan fighting for humanity. And I had a front row seat to history in the making. Chapter 11, The Monster Within? Akira stood among the scattered bodies and debris, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The battle had been fierce, but the Titans weren't done yet. The Survey Corps and the remaining recruits were barely holding on, and the sense of dread in the air was almost suffocating. He stole a glance at Ren, who had just been swallowed whole by a Titan. The scene was burned into Akira's memory, yet he had to act as if he didn't know what was coming. His clenched fists trembled, not out of fear, but out of restraint. If he interfered too much, things might spiral beyond his control. System notification: you have gained 1,500 experience point for surviving a large-scale Titan attack. System notification: new title earned, Battle Survivor, slight boost to stamina recovery in combat. Akira exhaled sharply. The system always had a way of throwing in rewards that seemed minuscule but were bound to stack up in usefulness later. He focused back on the battlefield. Armin was frozen in place, staring at the blood-soaked ground where Ren had been. Mikasa, on the other hand, looked completely blank, a sign of an impending storm. I have to find Ren, Mikasa said suddenly, her voice eerily calm. Akira stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. Right now, we need to survive. If we die here, we won't be able to do anything for him. Mikasa turned to look at him, her dark eyes burning with intensity. You don't understand. I can't lose him. I do understand. Akira responded softly. But you're not the only one who cares about Ren. We all do. For a moment, Mikasa hesitated before nodding. She took off in the direction of the remaining forces, looking for a way to push forward. Meanwhile, the Titans continued their relentless assault. Civilians screamed in the distance, and the stench of blood filled the air. Akira tightened his grip on his blade. Despite the chaos, he remained eerily calm, analyzing everything around him. He activated Observe on the nearest Titan. Abnormal Titan, 8 meters tall, strength, high, speed, moderate, weakness, nape, status, engaged in combat, no unique traits, Akira thought as he moved swiftly, slicing through its Achilles tendon before delivering a precise cut to the nape. The Titan collapsed instantly. The system pinged him again, but he barely paid it any attention. Armin was struggling nearby, his hands trembling as he tried to reload his gas canisters. Akira. He called out desperately. Akira was already moving, dashing past Armin and skewering the Titan that was reaching for him. The blade cut cleanly, spraying steam as the Titan disintegrated. Stay close, Armin. Akira said firmly. I'll cover you. Armin nodded shakily, his fear evident. But there was something else in his eyes, determination. As the battle raged on, a massive explosion shook the area. Akira turned in time to see the colossal form of a new Titan emerging from the remains of another, Ren's Titan. Mikasa skidded to a stop next to him, her eyes widening. Ren. Akira kept his expression neutral. This was it, the turning point. System notification, event triggered, the rise of the Rogue Titan, system notification, special quest, observe and survive, survive the appearance of the Rogue Titan and witness its actions. Reward, +3 to intelligence, rare skill scroll, interesting. Akira mused. The system had begun adjusting itself to major story events. Stay back. He warned Armin and Mikasa. Let's see what happens. They watched as Ren's Titan form roared, tearing through the enemy Titans with ease. For the first time, the tide of battle shifted in humanity's favor. Akira narrowed his eyes, analyzing everything. This was no ordinary transformation, this was a declaration. The era of passive survival was ending, and the true war was about to begin. As he gazed at the chaos before him, his lips curled into a slight smirk. This world was only getting more interesting. The battlefield quieted slightly as the remaining Titans faltered in their assault, confused by the appearance of the Rogue Titan. It was almost poetic, humanity's greatest enemy now fighting in their defense. Akira surveyed the area, his sharp mind calculating their next move. This is the perfect time to regroup. He turned to Armin. We need to get everyone still standing and retreat. The Titans are distracted, but that won't last forever. Armin hesitated before nodding. Right. I'll find the others. Akira turned to Mikasa, who was still staring at Ren's Titan with a look of disbelief mixed with longing. He gently nudged her shoulder. He's alive. That's all that matters right now. Let's not waste this chance. Mikasa exhaled and finally tore her gaze away. You're right. As they moved, Akira spotted a group of soldiers cornered by an abnormal Titan. Their gas was depleted, leaving them defenseless. Damn it. System notification, side quest triggered, hero's intervention, save the trapped soldiers. Reward, +2 to dexterity, uncommon equipment drop. Akira didn't hesitate. He adjusted his trajectory and shot forward, his blade cutting through the wind. He landed behind the Titan, slicing through the tendons before driving his weapon into its nape. The soldiers looked at him in shock as the massive body collapsed. You're still alive? One of them gasped. We thought we were done for. Akira smirked. Not today. Can you still fight? We're out of gas. Akira checked his inventory and tossed them spare canisters. Then reload fast. We're getting out of here. One of them, a young recruit, fumbled with his gear before looking up at Akira in awe. Who are you? Akira merely grinned. Just another soldier trying to survive. Now move. They regrouped with the others, and as they escaped the battlefield, Akira noticed something curious. His affection meter had updated. Armin, +15 affection, grateful. Mikasa, +10 affection, trusting. Random soldier, +5 affection, respect. So that's how it works, huh? Akira chuckled to himself. Entertaining, indeed. As they reached the safety of the inner walls, the weight of the battle settled over them. They had survived, barely. But this was only the beginning. Chapter 12, Threads of Fate. You have gained +3 intelligence for devising a strategic countermeasure. The system notification popped up as I crouched behind a stack of crates, my mind working overtime to process the sheer chaos unfolding before me. Trust was burning. Titans roamed the streets, their massive forms looming like harbingers of death. And amidst it all, something impossible was happening. One Titan was fighting the others. Ren. I knew this moment was coming, but watching it in real time was something else. My ADHD-fueled brain hyper-focused on every detail, the way steam rose from his Titan's nape, the raw, unfiltered brutality in his movements, the overwhelming power radiating from every strike. This was our first real shift in momentum. What the hell is that? Jin's voice cut through the mayhem, his face contorted in shock as he pointed at the rampaging Titan. Armin, still pale from the horrors he'd witnessed, stared in disbelief. It's fighting them. A Titan killing other Titans? That's not possible. Unless... I murmured under my breath. My voice barely carried over the distant screams and the crashing of buildings. This wasn't just a moment in history, it was a battlefield where every decision carried weight. Watching from the sidelines wasn't an option. I opened my quest log. Main quest, defend Trust. Objective, assist in the recapture of Trust without exposing knowledge of future events. Bonus, ensure the survival of at least 20 comrades. Reward, +1 skill upgrade, +500 system coins failure, expulsion from the core, and probable death. 20 comrades. I scanned the battlefield. Many of my squad members were still standing, but some were on the brink of collapse. Jean, Marco, Connie, Sasha. They had barely survived in canon. If I didn't step in, that might change. I inhaled sharply, steeling myself. Screw it. Time to play hero. Tactical play. I grabbed Jean by the shoulder, forcing him to focus. If that thing's taking out Titans, then we have an opening. We regroup and push forward. You lead the vanguard. I'll cover you. Why the hell should I listen to you? Jean snapped, frustration and fear flashing in his eyes. Because you're good at leading people. I shot back. And I'm good at keeping them alive. Now move. For a second, he hesitated. But Jean was no coward, he gritted his teeth and barked out orders. Slowly, the scattered remnants of our squad began to reform. Armin still looked torn, his logical mind struggling to process what was happening. Mikasa, however, moved with frightening precision, her focus locked solely on Ren. I launched myself into the air with my omnidirectional mobility gear, the tension in my body melting into motion. Weeks of grinding system-assigned exercises had paid off, not enough to make me overpowered, but enough to push my survival odds above zero. Then, another notification appeared. New passive unlocked, adaptive reflexes, your body naturally adjusts to high-stress combat scenarios. Plus 10% reaction speed in battle. A grin tugged at my lips. Hell yes. I pivoted midair, my blade slicing cleanly through a Titan's nape. The creature let out a gurgle roar before collapsing, steam and blood rising in the aftermath. One down. I muttered. Jean and the others pushed toward the supply depot, cutting down Titans along the way. Ren's rampage had drawn many of them away, this was our best shot. And then, a Titan lunged from the alleyway below. Shit. System intervention ding. You have activated, luck factor. A blur of movement. The Titan that had nearly grabbed me jerked suddenly, its nape sliced clean through. I barely had time to process before my gaze snapped upward. Mikasa. Focus, Akira. She called down, irritation edging her normally composed tone. I exhaled sharply. Yeah, you saved my ass. I owe you one. She didn't reply, already moving, her blades flashing as she cut down another Titan. I need to focus. We pushed forward, carving a path through the battlefield. Ren's presence had tilted the scales in our favor, but victory wasn't guaranteed. Then, a chilling notification flashed across my vision. Warning, an abnormal Titan has entered the area. My eyes snapped toward the eastern gate. It was fast. Unnaturally fast. Armin paled. That's, move. I barked, cutting him off. The Titan crashed into the street, sending debris flying. Its erratic gaze locked onto us, its movements unpredictable. This is bad. Fight or flight panic rippled through our ranks. Jean barely dodged a sweeping hand. Connie and Sasha scrambled onto a rooftop. Mikasa was already repositioning, her mind working 3 steps ahead. I gritted my teeth. I knew this Titan from the manga. But knowing and experiencing were two very different things. I could run. Or, I could take the risk. The system pinged again. Optional quest, eliminate the abnormal Titan, reward? A mystery reward. Tempting. But more than that, I wasn't about to let my squad die. Jean, take command. I shouted. Get everyone back to the supply depot. I'll handle this. Are you insane? Jean yelled back. Absolutely. Now move. I dove toward the Titan, omnidirectional mobility gear engaging at full power. The world sharpened. My ADHD hyperfocus kicked in, breaking the Titan's movements down into frame-by-frame analysis. It lunged, too fast. I twisted midair, barely avoiding its grasp. My heart pounded. A slow grin spread across my face. "Come on, then," I muttered. "Let's dance." Chapter 13, Tactical Annihilation. The Titan lunged, its erratic movements breaking every known pattern of normal Titan behavior. Its speed alone set it apart from the rest, but it was the intelligence in its eyes that unsettled me the most. My mind raced, breaking the fight down into calculations. I was midair, momentum carrying me toward its blind spot. If I angled my approach just right, a system notification flashed. New skill acquired, Flash Steps, Rank B, from Bleach, allows instantaneous high-speed movement over short distances, perfect timing. I activated Flash Steps. The world blurred, and in a blink, I was behind the abnormal Titan. My blades carved through its nape before it even registered my presence. Plus 300 experience point earned, plus 1 skill proficiency in Flash Steps. The Titan crumbled, steam rising as its corpse disintegrated. My heart pounded, adrenaline pumping through my veins. That was efficient. Akira. That was insane. Connie shouted from a rooftop, his face half awestruck, half horrified. Jean, panting, looked at me with a mix of skepticism and respect. "How the hell did you move that fast?" "Instincts," I replied coolly, sheathing my blades. "You get used to it." Affection meter updated, Jean +5, Connie +8, Armin's eyes flickered with curiosity. That wasn't normal omnidirectional mobility gear movement. My Kaza, still silent, only nodded in acknowledgement before refocusing on the battlefield. We had bigger problems. Farm mode, activated Titans were still swarming Trost. Ren's Titan was causing havoc, but that didn't mean we were safe. If I wanted to maximize my impact and rewards, I had to act fast. I opened my system farm interface. Farm element, Titan biomass extraction unlocked, converts fallen Titans into resources. Yield depends on Titan size and quality. Oh, hell yes. Processing. +3 Titan core fragments, +10 biomass units, +1 uncommon drop. I checked my inventory. The drop was item acquired, hardened Titan skin, usable for crafting. Interesting. That could come in handy later. The others didn't have time to question why I was hovering over a steaming Titan corpse. I immediately launched into the next battle, targeting another Titan that had cornered a group of cadets. Jean, cover the left flank. Mikasa, take high ground. Armin, watch our backs. I called out orders, slipping naturally into command mode. We moved as a unit, slicing through Titans with precision. My new skill, Flash Steps, made me faster than any of them, allowing me to reposition instantly and take down enemies before they could react. Plus 400 experience point earned, plus 2 skill proficiency in Flash Steps. By the time we reached the supply depot, I had gained another level. Level up, Akira Kurogen, level 14, plus 3 strength, plus 2 dexterity, plus 5 system points earned. I dumped all 5 points into dexterity. More speed meant better efficiency. System-assisted strategy. The resupply mission played out just like in the manga, but this time, I wasn't a bystander. Marco, Jean, and I coordinated cadets to transport gas canisters while my Kaza cleared threats ahead. Armin's analytical skills were instrumental in predicting Titan movements. At one point, Sasha saved Connie's ass with a last-second arrow shot. Affection meter updated, Sasha +10, Connie +12. My Kaza cut down a Titan with mechanical precision, but I caught a flicker of tension in her posture. She was still shaken by Ren's death. I wanted to tell her the truth, but I couldn't risk it. Instead, I placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "He wouldn't want you to lose focus now." She blinked, as if snapping out of a trance, and nodded. "You're right." Affection meter updated, my Kaza +7. The final push. The Titans were thinning out, but the abnormal one still posed a challenge. One particularly large Titan, nearly 15 meters, blocked our escape route. Enemy level, 18, threat level, high. I analyzed its movements. Unlike the mindless ones, this one had awareness. It dodged incoming attacks, even attempting to grab a cadet midair. Damn it. Jean cursed. That thing's not normal. Then we handle it differently, I said, gripping my blades. Follow my lead. I activated Flash Steps, appearing right in front of the Titan's face. It swiped at me, but I dodged midair, twisting to land on its arm. Using its momentum, I launched myself higher, directly toward its exposed nape. A clean slice. Plus 800 experience point earned, skill proficiency and Flash Steps increased. The Titan fell, clearing our path. Cheers erupted from the cadets. But we weren't done yet. Ren's Titan had collapsed from exhaustion, and the cleanup squad was moving in. Jean wiped sweat from his brow. "That's it. We actually did it. For now," I muttered, scanning the horizon. This battle was won, but the war was far from over. As we regrouped, I opened my system log. Quest completed, Defend Drost, bonus achieved, 25 comrades survived rewards, +1 skill upgrade, advanced flash steps, +1000 system coins plus new title, Tactician. I smirked. Not bad for a day's work. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Chapter 14, The Aftermath of Drost. The chaos of Drost had begun to settle, but I knew better than to relax. The events were playing out just like in the manga, yet my presence had already shifted minor details. I had to be careful, too much interference and things could spiral out of control. Ren was still unconscious after sealing the breach. The elites of the Survey Corps had arrived, with Captain Levi making quick work of the remaining Titans. The sight of him moving through the air with almost inhuman precision was mesmerizing, even for someone like me who had already seen it happen in the series. Observation skill activated. Name, Levi Ackerman. Rank, Captain of the Survey Corps. Strength, 98. Dexterity, 100. Combat prowess, S rank. I whistled under my breath. Damn, that's broken. What is? Jean asked, giving me a tired but wary look. We were both perched on a nearby rooftop, overseeing the aftermath. Nothing, just admiring the way that guy moves. I muttered, playing it off. Jean huffed. Yeah, he makes the rest of us look like amateurs. As the reinforcements took over the cleanup, I finally had a moment to breathe. My body ached, my muscles protesting after hours of continuous combat. But my mind was still racing. Quest completed, Defend Drost, bonus achieved, 25 comrades survived, rewards, +1 skill upgrade, advanced flash steps, +1000 system coins, new title, Tactician, new feature unlocked, system farm expansion, tactical growth mode. I frowned. Tactical growth mode? This feature allows the user to simulate battle scenarios and train skills efficiently without physical exhaustion. Now that was something useful. If I could train in a simulated environment, it would give me an edge without risking injury or exhaustion. Akira. I turned to see Armin running toward me, his face flushed with urgency. Commander Pixis is about to hold a debriefing. He wants all surviving cadets together. I nodded. Got it. The debriefing was grim. We were all lined up, standing at attention as the senior officers evaluated us. Some cadets were barely standing, their nerves shattered by the carnage they'd witnessed. Others, like Mikasa, stood firm, their resolve unshaken. Ren had woken up, shackled and surrounded by armed guards. Just like in the manga, he was about to be put on trial. The tension in the air was suffocating. As Pixis spoke, explaining the importance of Ren's Titan ability and the potential threat he posed, I kept my gaze neutral. There was no point in interfering here. Events had to play out as they were meant to, at least for now. Levi stepped forward, scrutinizing Ren with sharp, calculating eyes. If he steps out of line, I'll kill him myself. The words carried weight, and the room fell silent. I stole a glance at Mikasa. Her hands clenched into fists, her entire body radiating tension. This is where trust is built, I reminded myself. They need to accept Ren as an ally, not an enemy. Hanzoi, ever the eccentric scientist, was the only one excited by Ren's transformation. She practically vibrated with enthusiasm, already planning experiments. I sighed internally. Here we go. After the trial, we were given a short reprieve. Most of us found our way to the mess hall, collapsing into chairs and inhaling whatever food was placed in front of us. Sasha, as expected, had piled her plate high. I thought I was gonna die out there. She mumbled around a mouthful of bread. You say that after every battle. Connie teased, nudging her. One day, we might actually believe you. Sasha scowled but continued eating. Jean sat across from me, pushing his food around his plate. So? What now? Now? I echoed, raising an eyebrow. Now that Ren's a Titan. Now that we know we can actually fight back. What does this mean for us? Jean's voice was laced with uncertainty, frustration even. I leaned back, stretching my sore limbs. It means we have a shot at survival. But it also means the real fight is just beginning. Jean frowned but nodded. Yeah. I guess you're right. Mikasa had been silent the entire time, but I could feel her gaze on me. When our eyes met, she spoke softly. You fought well today. I shrugged. Had to. Didn't have a choice. None of us did. Armin murmured. But we made it. For now, at least. That night, I accessed my system farm. Tactical growth mode activated, the scenery shifted around me, transporting me into a virtual battlefield. Titans appeared, their massive forms looming over me. But unlike reality, I wasn't in immediate danger. This was training. I tested my new skill upgrade, advanced flash steps, and the results were immediate. My movements were even faster, allowing me to dodge and reposition with ease. I practiced different attack angles, aiming for efficiency over brute force. After an hour of simulated combat, I checked my stats. Skill proficiency increased, omnidirectional mobility gear mastery +2, advanced flash steps +3, not bad for a single session. Exiting the simulation, I lay back on my cot, staring at the ceiling. Trust was just the beginning. I had to be ready for what came next. Because things were only going to get harder from here. Chapter 15, Shadows Among Titans. The echoes of battle had faded, but the weight of what had transpired in Trost still lingered. The cadets who survived were being evaluated, their futures decided by the higher-ups of the military. And amidst it all, one decision caught me completely off guard. Erwin Smith had personally selected me for the Special Operations Squad, Levi's squad. I stood in the dimly lit room alongside Ren, my arms crossed as my mind processed what had just happened. The rest of Levi's squad, Jin, Gunter Schultz, Peter Rao, and Dalla Obozato, watched me with varying degrees of curiosity and suspicion. Ren looked equally shocked, though he was more preoccupied with his own situation. Him? Alla-O scoffed, his expression skeptical as he looked me up and down. Commander Erwin, are you sure about this? The brat's barely been tested. He survived Trost. Erwin stated simply, his piercing gaze settling on me. And I have reason to believe his skills will be useful to this squad. Levi, who had been silent until now, leaned back against the wall, arms crossed. TCH. Doesn't matter what I think. If Erwin says he's in, he's in. But listen up, newbie. We don't babysit. You pull your weight, or your dead weight. Fair enough. I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Petra, the most approachable of the squad, offered a small smile. It's not personal, Akira. We just don't have the luxury of trusting easily. You'll have to prove yourself. I nodded, understanding their wariness. Levi's squad was elite for a reason. They didn't just accept new members on a whim. But Erwin had placed me here for a reason, and I intended to make it count. Training under Levi the next few days were grueling. Levi didn't tolerate inefficiency, and every single member of the squad had years of experience on me. Ren and I were drilled relentlessly in omnidirectional mobility gear maneuvering, squad coordination, and direct combat. I was good, better than most cadets, but these were veterans. Eld had years of experience leading in the field. Gunter was one of the most methodical fighters I had ever seen. Petra had speed and technique that made her a nightmare in close quarters, and Alla-O, despite being an arrogant ass, was one of the most adaptable fighters I'd encountered. And then there was Levi. He wasn't human. His reaction speed, his fluidity of motion, it was unreal. Every spar with him ended with me flat on my back, gasping for breath. But every time I lost, I learned. Skill progression, omnidirectional mobility gear mastery +2, combat awareness +3, Ren was struggling to keep up. His Titan abilities gave him power, but in human form, he lacked control. Levi didn't go easy on him either. You think being a Titan makes you special? Levi said coldly after Ren fumbled a counterattack. Out there, we don't rely on monsters. You either fight or you die. I watched Ren grit his teeth and push himself harder. I had to respect that. He wasn't backing down. System farm, tactical application at night, while the others rested, I utilized the tactical growth mode in my system farm. The simulated combat allowed me to refine my techniques without physically exhausting myself. Tonight's session was focused on countering abnormal Titan attacks. As I maneuvered through the simulation, a Titan lunged at me, its movements erratic and unpredictable. Unlike standard Titans, abnormals didn't follow patterns. I needed adaptability. New passive skill unlocked, instinctive combat, your body reacts subconsciously to high-speed threats. Plus 15% to evasive maneuvers, I smirked. This was exactly the edge I needed. A test of trust one evening, after a long day of training, Levi's squad gathered around a fire. For the first time, the atmosphere was intense. Petra was humming softly as she cleaned her gear, Eld and Gunter discussing formations, while Alla-O, predictably, was boasting about how he could probably take on a Titan solo. I sat next to Ren, who was staring into the fire. Thinking about the trial? I asked. He nodded. Yeah. Feels like they're just waiting for an excuse to get rid of me. Then don't give them one. I said simply. Control your power. Prove you're more valuable as an ally than a threat. He sighed. Easier said than done. Petra looked up from her blades. It's not about proving yourself to them, Ren. It's about proving to yourself that you can handle this. We're all risking our lives out here. That means we trust each other. Can you trust us? Ren looked around at the squad, then at me. He nodded. Yeah. I can. Levi, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. Then don't waste that trust. You screw up, we die. Simple as that. Ren clenched his fists, determination flickering in his eyes. I won't let you down. I exhaled, watching the fire crackle. Things were shifting, and I had a feeling we were heading straight into the deep end. Because the female Titan arc was approaching. And nothing would ever be the same again. Chapter 16, The Female Titans Roar. The sound of thundering hooves filled the air as our squad moved through the dense foliage of the forest. The sunlight barely pierced through the towering trees, casting eerie shadows across the ground. This was it, one of the most crucial moments in Attack on Titan. The mission to escort Ren through the forest of giant trees had begun. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. The veterans of Levi's squad were all on high alert, their hands never straying far from their weapons. Petra, Alao, Eld, and Gunter, each one of them experienced and battle-hardened. And yet, despite their skills, I knew what was coming. The female Titan. Stay focused. Levi's voice cut through the silence, calm and commanding. If anything happens, follow orders. Ren, riding slightly ahead of me, looked uncertain. His hands gripped the reins tightly, his expression a mixture of determination and unease. Captain Levi. Why aren't we fighting back? If Titans are chasing us, shouldn't we engage? Not our job. Levi replied flatly. Just stick to the plan. I glanced at him, then at the surrounding trees. The formation had been set up to protect Ren, but I knew it wouldn't be enough. The female Titan was coming, and she was about to tear through our defenses like paper. I had to act before things spiraled out of control. The encounter, a gut-wrenching scream echoed through the forest, followed by the unmistakable sound of flesh being torn apart. The next instant, a massive figure emerged from the treetops, launching itself toward our formation with terrifying speed. There she was. The female Titan. The ground trembled as she landed, her cold blue eyes scanning our squad with unsettling intelligence. Unlike the mindless Titans, she wasn't attacking randomly, she was hunting. A series of green flares shot into the sky, signaling an abnormal threat. Levi's eyes narrowed. TCH. Here we go. Akira, stay with Ren. The rest of you, prepare to engage. Got it. I replied, already gripping my omnidirectional mobility gear handles. My heart pounded, but my mind remained sharp. I need to act fast. Gunter and Deld moved first, using their omnidirectional mobility gear to flank her. Their blades flashed, but the female Titan was ready. With inhuman precision, she twisted her body, dodging the first strike and swatting Eld away with a brutal kick. He barely managed to adjust his trajectory midair, crashing into a nearby tree. Shit. Petra cursed. She's too fast. I clenched my jaw. If we fight her like this, we're dead. Tactical shift, my system pinged. New quest, survive against the female Titan. Objective, ensure the survival of Levi's squad while escorting Ren. Bonus, inflict damage on the female Titan. Reward, I didn't need the system to tell me this was a crucial moment. The plan had already failed in the original timeline. I had to shift the tide. Ren. You need to transform. I shouted. He blinked, startled. What? She's not just some random Titan. You know that. If you don't fight back, we're all dead. Ren hesitated, his teeth grinding. But Captain Levi said, screw orders. If you don't fight, she's going to wipe us out. Levi's sharp gaze flicked toward me. His usual indifferent expression was unreadable, but he didn't argue. Instead, he adjusted his stance. Fine. Ren, make your choice. Ren clenched his fists. His expression shifted from doubt to conviction. He bit down on his hand, and with a burst of lightning, his transformation began. The female Titan halted, her gaze locking onto Ren's massive new form. For the first time, there was a flicker of surprise in her expression. Good. Now we had a real fight. Titan battle. Ren let out a deafening roar, his Titan form charging at the female Titan with raw aggression. He swung wildly, his strength shaking the very trees around us. But she was faster. Smarter. She sidestepped his attack and countered with a brutal roundhouse kick, sending Ren sprawling into the forest floor. New passive unlocked, combat instincts. Your battle awareness sharpens during high-stakes encounters. Plus 10% agility and reaction speed. I took advantage of the moment. Using my omnidirectional mobility gear, I launched toward the female Titan's exposed nape. My blades gleamed in the sunlight as I aimed for a clean strike. She moved at the last second. Her hand snapped up, catching my wire midair. My heart skipped a beat. Too fast. Before she could crush me, a blur of motion interrupted. Levi. He slashed at her fingers with terrifying speed, forcing her to release me. Focus, Akira. You're not dying yet. He said coolly, already repositioning for another attack. I exhaled sharply. Yeah. Thanks for the save. Ren roared again, launching another attack. This time, he was learning. He adjusted his movements, using a feint to bait her into an opening. He landed a solid punch to her face, sending her staggering backward. Yes. We had the upper hand. And then, the roar. The call of the Titans, a chilling, bone-rattling roar erupted from the female Titan's throat. The kind of roar that sent shivers down your spine. Then, in the distance, the trees began to shake. A stampede of Titans was coming straight toward us. I gritted my teeth. Of course. She's calling reinforcements. Levi cursed under his breath. Petra. Eld. Fall back. We're switching focus. Petra looked stricken. What about Ren? He can handle himself. We need to cut off those incoming Titans, or we're all screwed. I checked my quest log. The objective hadn't changed. That meant we still had a chance. Ren. Focus on her. We'll handle the rest. I shouted, already launching toward the nearest incoming Titan. My omnidirectional mobility gear hissed as I zipped through the trees, my blades flashing in the dim light. One Titan, two Titans, each one falling as I tore through their napes with precise strikes. Experience point gained, plus 200, experience point gained, plus 180, system coins earned, plus 50. Levi was a blur of motion beside me, his technique flawless. It was mesmerizing, even in the chaos. Don't slow down. He warned. Wasn't planning on it. I shot back, dodging another incoming hand. Gunter and Deld fought alongside us, their teamwork impeccable. But the numbers were increasing. And the female Titan was still standing. Desperation Ren fought valiantly, but the female Titan had recovered. She was adapting to his attacks, countering with terrifying efficiency. Then, she went for the kill. With a single, calculated strike, she severed Ren's arms, sending his Titan form crashing down. Ren. My Kaz's scream echoed through the trees, her form already moving at deadly speed toward the female Titan. Shit. She's about to go berserk. Levi reacted instantly. Petra. Get Ren's body out of there. The rest of you, keep pressure on her. I met his gaze. We're not winning this, are we? His eyes were hard, unreadable. Not today. But we can still get Ren back. I nodded. Then let's make it count. The battle raged on, each second stretching into eternity. The stakes had never been higher. And I wasn't about to let history repeat itself. Quest update, survive against the female Titan, status, ongoing, Chapter 17, System Overview, Akira Kurogain Player Status Overview. Akira Kurogain possesses a unique gamer system that allows him to level up, gain skills, and grow stronger in a structured manner, much like in RPGs. This system integrates seamlessly with the world of Attack on Titan while allowing him to influence events through calculated intervention. Status window, name, Akira Kurogain, title, Tactician, Survivor of Trust, level, 18, race, human, affiliation, Survey Corps, Special Operations Squad, current location, outside Walrose, female Titan encounter, primary stats, strength, 42, dexterity, 65, endurance, 50, intelligence, 92, perception, 68, charisma, 38, luck, 34, skills, omnidirectional mobility gear mastery, B rank, proficient in 3D maneuver gear combat, advanced flash steps, B rank, high-speed movement technique, improving reaction time and evasion, tactical mind, B rank, increased strategic planning and combat adaptability, Titan's Lair, C rank, higher critical hit rate against Titans, stealth, C rank, improved ability to move undetected, observation, B rank, provides detailed insights on enemies and allies, regeneration, D rank, slightly accelerated healing factor, affection meter, Mykaz Ackerman, 62, respect and mild interest, Ren Yeager, 58, trusts as ally, Armin Arlert, 71, highly values intelligence, Levi Ackerman, 45, acknowledges skill, watches closely, Hange Zoe, 55, curiosity and mild fascination, Jean Kirstein, 60, respect through rivalry, Sasha Blouse, 53, food bonding level 1, Annie Lenhart, 35, indifference, slight suspicion, system features, inventory, stores items, weapons, and gear, system farm, provides resources, stat growth through harvested materials, system shop, locked, will be unlocked at level 20, lottery system, allows the drawing of random skills, weapons, or stat boosts, quest log, tracks objectives and rewards, active quests, main quest, female Titan encounter, objective, survive the female Titan's assault and ensure Levi squad safety, bonus objective, identify the Titan shifter without raising suspicion, reward, +3 stat boost, +1000 system coins, system interface, stat descriptions, strength, determines physical power, damage dealt with melee attacks, and carrying capacity, dexterity, affects agility, balance, and omnidirectional mobility gear proficiency, endurance, governed stamina, resilience, and resistance to damage, intelligence, affects problem solving, strategy formulation, and situation analysis, wisdom, governs decision-making, perception, and insight in battle, charisma, influences persuasion, leadership, and the affection meter, luck, determines critical hit chances, dodging capability, and lottery rewards. 2. Skills and abilities. Akira can acquire both active and passive skills through combat, training, and system rewards. Skills are ranked from F to S, with S being the highest. Skill examples: Advanced Flash Steps, Rank B, a high-speed movement skill that allows instantaneous dodges and repositioning. Adaptive Reflexes, Passive, grants plus 10% reaction speed in battle, improving evasive maneuvers. 3. Affection Meter, reflects the emotional and strategic relationships Akira builds with key characters. Grows through shared experiences, dialogue choices, and battlefield synergy. System Shop, locked, will be available at level 20. Allows Akira to purchase powerful items, skills, and upgrades using system coins. Example items: omnidirectional mobility gear gas upgrade, increases maneuverability and gas efficiency. High-grade blades, lasts longer and deals more damage to titans. Skill books, grants new abilities instantly. 7. Lottery system, a randomized reward system offering powerful gear, abilities, and enhancements. Types of lottery tickets: common ticket, low-tier items and skills; rare ticket, mid-tier skills and weapons; epic ticket, high-tier abilities and unique items; legendary ticket, extremely rare and powerful abilities. Current level and progression: Akira gains experience through combat and quests. His level defines his access to new features and system unlocks. Level scaling: level 1 to level 10, normal human strength; level 11 to level 30, elite soldier capabilities; level 31 to level 50, beyond human limits, akin to Levi or stronger; level 51 plus, superhuman, breaking conventional power scales. Conclusion: the gamer system grants Akira gain immense growth potential while preserving the brutal, high-stakes reality of the Attack on Titan world. With strategic mastery, careful relationships, and smart system usage, he must rise through the chaos and uncover the truth one mission at a time. This is only the beginning. The system evolves with him. How he uses it will determine his fate. Chapter 18. Awakening of the Ackerman bloodline. The air was thick with the scent of blood and the guttural roars of approaching titans. The female titan's chilling scream had echoed through the dense forest, summoning reinforcements like mindless beasts answering the call of a predator. The rumbling of their massive feet shook the very earth beneath us. Ren lay on the forest floor, his titan form battered and smoking. His arms had been torn off, steam rising from his wounds as his body struggled to regenerate. He was spent, unable to fight. Levi's squad was surrounded. And we were running out of time. Tactical maneuvers. Petra, Eld. Get Ren's body and retreat. Levi's voice cut through the chaos with unwavering authority. But, Captain, Petra hesitated, her gaze darting between Ren and the female titan. That's an order. Levi snapped. Akira, Gunter, you're with me. We'll slow her down. I nodded, already activating my omnidirectional mobility gear. The grappling hooks latched onto a high branch, and I shot forward, adjusting midair to gain the best angle of attack. My body moved on instinct, honed by countless battles and system-assisted growth. Gunter flanked from the right while Levi moved in from the left, both of them executing with terrifying precision. The female titan's piercing blue eyes scanned us, calculating our movements. She didn't panic. She adapted. And then she struck. In one swift motion, she pivoted, her leg swinging outward in a sweeping kick designed to take us all down in one go. Too predictable. I twisted my body midair, narrowly avoiding the attack while slashing downward at her exposed thigh. My blade cut deep, but just before I could sever the muscle, her skin hardened, nullifying the damage. Gunter wasn't as lucky. The force of her kick caught him midair, sending him crashing into a thick tree with a sickening crack. Gunter! Petra's scream rang out from the distance. Levi's eyes flickered toward the fallen soldier for only a fraction of a second before refocusing. He didn't hesitate. He couldn't afford to. The female titan lunged for Ren's motionless form, her movements faster than anticipated. My system pinged, warnings flashing across my vision. Danger, threat level, S rank, survival instincts activated. I reacted instantly. My muscles tensed, my reflexes sharpened as I launched myself between Ren and the oncoming titan. My blades met her hardened fingers in a shower of sparks, the impact sending shockwaves through my arms. Too slow. Then, Levi was there. With blinding speed, he tore into her exposed arm, his spinning strikes cutting through her flesh like a buzzsaw. She recoiled, jerking her hand back as steam erupted from the wounds. We need to retreat now. I shouted. The titans are closing in. Levi's expression remained unreadable, but he nodded. Fall back. The system's gift. As we regrouped, my system chimed again. Quest updated, survive against the female titan, status, ongoing, bonus objective achieved, inflict damage on the female titan, reward, 1x high-grade lottery ticket. A lottery ticket? Now. I didn't have time to use it, but the system had never let me down. I mentally activated it, feeling a rush of energy surge through me. Rolling, congratulations. You have obtained Ackerman bloodline, sealed. I nearly lost my grip on my omnidirectional mobility gear. Ackerman bloodline. Before I could process it, my vision swam. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as a sensation unlike anything I had ever experienced overtook me. It wasn't just a power-up. It was a revelation. My instincts sharpened. My mind became nearly clear. Every movement, every attack pattern, every possibility laid itself bare before me. My body knew things before my mind could register them. This was what it meant to be an Ackerman. Levi glanced at me. His sharp eyes narrowed slightly, as if sensing something had changed. But now wasn't the time to explain. I had a battle to finish. Counterattack. The female titan was already regenerating, her eyes still locked onto Ren. The surrounding titans were closing in, drawn to her call. No more hesitation. I moved. 1 second I was still, the next, I was a blur. The world slowed around me, every motion magnified in my mind. My omnidirectional mobility gear propelled me forward with devastating speed, my blades cutting through the air. Before she could react, I was already upon her. I struck. A perfectly timed slash across her Achilles tendon, cutting deep before she could harden it. She staggered. Levi followed up instantly, his blades carving into her shoulder in a whirlwind of steel. Blood and steam filled the air. She stumbled. I twisted midair, repositioning for another attack before she could recover. My movements were beyond fluid, they were natural, as if my body had always fought like this. The female titan's eyes met mine. Recognition. Surprise. Too late. With one final burst of speed, I drove my blades toward her nape. Then, she roared. A deep, earth-shattering roar that sent a pulse through the air. This time, it was different, more desperate. More determined. The other titans responded instantly. I barely had time to react as multiple titans lunged from all directions, their massive hands reaching for us. The female titan was sacrificing herself to ensure Ren was taken. Akira, move. Levi's voice snapped me back to reality. I disengaged just in time, my omnidirectional mobility gear yanking me away from the incoming horde. But the female titan wasn't retreating, she was stalling. Damn it. I muttered. She's buying time. Levi clicked his tongue. We can't afford to lose more people. Fall back. I clenched my fists, my body screaming to finish the fight. But he was right. We had to regroup. We had to live. Aftermath. We retreated to a secure clearing, Ren's unconscious body carefully placed onto a horse. The mission had failed. The female titan had escaped. And we had lost Gunter. Petra sat on the ground, silent tears streaming down her face. Eld clenched his fists, his jaw tight with frustration. Even Levi, always composed, seemed tense. Kaze had her eyes locked onto Ren's face, her expression unreadable. But when she glanced at me, something changed. A flicker of something. I checked my system notifications one last time. Quest update, survive against the female titan, status, completed, experience point gained, plus 3,500, new passive skill unlocked, Ackerman instincts, integrated reflexive skills. I exhaled, rolling my shoulders. The battle had taken its toll, but I had gained more than I had lost. The Ackerman bloodline was no longer sealed. And I had just taken my first step toward changing this world's fate. Chapter 19, The Cost of Survival. The roar of the female titan still echoed in my ears as I gasped for breath, my hands tightening around my blades. The chaos of battle had barely settled, yet there was no time to rest. We had barely escaped death, but victory still felt far away. Ren's titan form lay motionless on the ground, steam rising from the fresh wounds that had severed his arms. He was still inside, unconscious, leaving us completely vulnerable. The rest of Levi's squad moved quickly, securing the area as best they could while keeping an eye on the female titan. The reinforcements she had summoned had been dealt with, but at a heavy cost. We had been pushed to our limits, and I could feel exhaustion creeping in. But we couldn't stop. Not yet. Levi landed beside me, his sharp eyes assessing the battlefield. Ren's down. We need to move now. I nodded, wiping sweat from my brow. She won't just let us leave. Levi's gaze flicked toward the female titan, who remained motionless in the distance, her eerie blue eyes locked onto Ren's fallen form. She's waiting for something. I muttered. She didn't finish him off. Petra, still catching her breath, looked toward Ren with worry. If we don't get him out of here, she might try again. Gunter and Deld exchanged tense glances before looking at Levi for orders. He remained calm, as always, but I could see the slight crease in his forehead, a rare sign of concern. She knows we're not strong enough to kill her. Levi finally said. Not yet. That means she's planning something. A chilling realization settled in my gut. She wasn't just here to kill us, she wanted Ren. The same way she had hesitated before striking him down, she was waiting for an opportunity to capture him. Then we need to move, I said, shifting my stance. Before she makes her next move. Levi's nod was almost imperceptible, but it was all the confirmation I needed. A desperate escape, the squad moved quickly, repositioning around Ren's Titan form. Petra and Del took the front while Gunter and I guarded the rear. Levi led the formation, his movements as precise as ever. Just as we started moving, the female Titan tensed. She's coming, I shouted. Before I could react, she lunged forward with terrifying speed, heading straight for Ren's exposed body. Damn it! Petra cursed, launching her omnidirectional mobility gear. Levi moved first, cutting through the air like a blur. He slashed at the female Titan's eye, forcing her to rear back, but it wasn't enough to stop her completely. She was adapting, learning how we fought. I clenched my jaw. We had to create a real opening. System notification, reflexive passives combined into Ackerman's instinct. Ackerman's instinct, your reflexes have evolved beyond human limits. In battle, your mind processes threats at extreme speed, allowing instinctive dodging and counterattacks. Your movement synchronizes seamlessly with combat. A surge of awareness flooded through me, my vision sharpening, my body feeling lighter, more precise. This was something else entirely. Levi! I shouted, already moving before I had time to think. With newfound precision, I propelled myself forward, slashing at the female Titan's wrist. She reacted instantly, but my body moved on its own, twisting midair to avoid her grasp. Levi took advantage of the moment, his blade striking in rapid succession, cutting deep into her tendons. Blood spurted as she stumbled, buying us the few crucial seconds we needed. Go. Now! Levi barked. Petra and the others wasted no time, grabbing Ren's unconscious body and launching away. Gunter covered their retreat while I kept an eye on the female Titan. But just as I thought we had gained enough distance, she did something unexpected. She screamed. The earth shook as a new wave of Titans came barreling through the trees, drawn by her call. I gritted my teeth. Of course she wouldn't let us go that easily. Levi clicked his tongue. TCH. Change of plans. Unexpected reinforcements. The incoming Titans were fast, too fast for us to cut through while still carrying Ren. But before I could suggest anything, a new flare shot into the sky. A signal for backup? A group of riders emerged from the dense trees. Leading the charge was none other than Historia Rice. What the hell? Petra gasped as Historia and her squad cut through the Titans with terrifying efficiency. I watched, stunned, as Historia maneuvered her horse with expert skill, slicing through a Titan's nape with precise omnidirectional mobility gear movements. This wasn't the meek girl I had seen in the past, she was fighting with everything she had. Akira. Levi. She called out as she landed beside us. Commander Erwin sent us to support your retreat. Levi raised an eyebrow but wasted no time. Good. Cover the rear. I found myself staring at Historia a little longer than I should have. She caught my gaze, her cheeks slightly flushed before she quickly turned away, gripping her blades tightly. Affection meter, Historia Rice, 65, I smirked despite the situation. Didn't expect to see you here, Historia. She glared at me playfully. I could say the same about you. But we can talk later, right now, let's get out of here alive. Fair enough. The aftermath. By the time we reached the outer edge of the forest, the Titans had been dealt with, and the female Titan had vanished into the distance. Erwin and the rest of the Survey Corps had set up a temporary camp, treating the wounded and assessing the situation. Ren had been pulled from his Titan form and was still unconscious but stable. Levi's squad, though battered and exhausted, had survived. I sat near the edge of the camp, cleaning the blood off my blades. Historia approached, hesitant. Akira. I looked up. What's up? She hesitated before sitting beside me. I saw how you fought back there. You saved a lot of lives. I shrugged. It's what needed to be done. She bit her lip, fidgeting slightly. Still. Thank you. I studied her for a moment before smirking. Didn't know you cared so much. She flushed but didn't look away. Maybe I do. Affection meter, Historia Rice, 72. Before I could respond, Levi called out. Akira. Erwin wants to see us. I sighed. Duty calls. As I stood, Historia grabbed my wrist lightly. Be careful. I gave her a reassuring smile. Always. With that, I followed Levi into the command tent, knowing that whatever came next would only get more dangerous. Quest update, survive against the female titan, status, completed, chapter 20, special. She stands before me, her obsidian hair cascading down her back, her breathing uneven. Her body is tense, but it isn't fear that stills her, it's anticipation. That same obsession I've seen in her eyes every time she looks at me, the same fire that's been burning between us, unspoken but undeniable. Tonight, I'll make sure she understands exactly what she belongs to. I take a slow step forward, and she doesn't move away. If anything, her lips part slightly, her pupils blown wide. My fingers reach out, grazing the bare skin of her neck before gripping the scarf wrapped loosely around her throat. I tug, hard, and she stumbles forward, crashing into my chest. A sharp intake of breath. A quiet gasp. My Kaza. My voice is low, commanding. She shivers. Why yes? I grip her chin, tilting her head up to meet my gaze. Those stormy gray eyes, usually so cold and calculating, are filled with something raw, something desperate. I smirk, leaning in just enough for my lips to brush against hers, but not enough to give her what she wants. You've been watching me. I murmur, voice dark with amusement. Haven't you? Her breath hitches, but she doesn't deny it. Instead, she nods, her fingers twitching as if resisting the urge to reach for me. Always. She whispers. I chuckle, my grip on her scarf tightening as I pull her even closer. Obsessive little thing. My free hand trails down her back, gripping her waist, feeling the way her body trembles beneath my touch. You want me to take you, don't you? Her hands finally move, gripping the fabric of my shirt, her knuckles white. Please. She breathes, the word barely audible. That's all I need. I crash my lips against hers, claiming her in a kiss that is nothing short of possessive. She responds instantly, matching my intensity, her fingers tangling in my hair as if she can't get close enough. I push her back, guiding her until her knees hit the mattress. She falls onto it, her breath coming in short, desperate pants as I crawl over her, pinning her wrists above her head with one hand. She struggles, not to escape, but to test me. I smirk, leaning down to press my lips against her jaw, then lower, biting down just hard enough to leave a mark. She lets out a small, needy whimper, arching against me. You're mine. I growl against her skin, my free hand trailing lower. Say it. Her breath is shaky, but her voice is firm. I'm yours. I reward her with another searing kiss, devouring her, taking what's mine. Her legs wrap around me, her body pressing against mine in a way that leaves nothing to the imagination. As I claim her mouth in a bruising kiss, my cock throbs against her hip, aching to be buried inside her. I grind against her, letting her feel how hard I am for her, how desperately I crave her. Breaking the kiss, I trail my lips down her neck, nipping and sucking at the tender flesh. Tell me where you want it. I demand, my voice rough with lust. Want me to fuck you with my tongue first, or do you need my dick inside you now? She whimpers, writhing beneath me, her hands fisting in the sheets. Please, just fuck me. She begs, her voice barely coherent. I need it. Need you. With a growl, I position myself at her entrance, the head of my cock nudging against her slick folds. Look at me, I command, my gaze locking with hers as I slowly push inside her, savoring the tight, wet heat that envelops my shaft. Her eyes flutter closed, a silent scream of pleasure etched across her face. I pause, giving her a moment to adjust, relishing the way her inner muscles clench around me. Then, with a deliberate thrust, I bury myself to the hilt, a guttural groan tearing from my throat at the exquisite sensation of being fully sheathed within her. Fuck, my Kaza. I hiss, my hips rocking gently as I begin to move, setting a slow, deliberate pace designed to drive her wild. So fucking tight. So perfect? Her nails dig into my shoulders as I start to move, each thrust driving deeper, harder. The bed creaks beneath us, the rhythm of our coupling filling the room. Yes. She moans, her hips rising to meet mine. Just like that. Don't stop. I lean down, capturing her lips in a fierce kiss as I pick up speed, pounding into her with increasing urgency. The slap of skin against skin echoes through the chamber, punctuating the lewd sounds of our passion. You're squeezing me so goddamn tight. I grunt against her mouth, my balls slapping against her ass with every powerful stroke. Gonna fill this pussy up soon. She breaks the kiss, her head thrown back in ecstasy. Do it. Come inside me. With a final, brutal thrust, I bury myself to the root, grinding against her as I explode, painting her insides with my hot seed. Ah, fuck. I roar, my vision blurring as wave after wave of intense pleasure crashes over me. I can feel her milking me, her inner walls rippling around my pulsing cock, drawing out every last drop. As the aftershocks subside, I collapse on top of her, both of us panting heavily, sweat-slicked bodies entwined. I nuzzle into her neck, pressing soft kisses to the marks left by my teeth. That was incredible. I murmur, my voice husky with satisfaction. You're amazing, my Kaza. She turns her head, meeting my gaze with a dazed smile. You're not so bad yourself, I chuckle, rolling off her and onto my side, pulling her close so she's nestled against my chest. Our hearts still race in tandem, a physical manifestation of the intense connection we share. I think we've established that we're quite compatible. I remark, tracing idle patterns on her arm with my fingertips. But I'm curious. What made you decide to act on these feelings tonight? My Kaza's expression turns thoughtful, her gaze drifting to some point beyond the candle-lit room. I realized I couldn't keep pretending anymore. She says softly. Watching you, wanting you. It consumed me. And I couldn't bear the thought of losing you as a friend because of my desires. I tilt her chin up, forcing her to look at me. You could never lose me, my Kaza. Not unless you pushed me away. She shakes her head, a hint of defiance in her eyes. No, I won't let that happen. We're stronger than that. I nod, a sense of determination settling over me. We are. And now that we've crossed this line, there's no going back. But I promise you, my Kaza, I'll cherish this newfound intimacy between us. We'll navigate whatever comes next together, as equals. She searches my face, seeming to find the sincerity she seeks. Together. She repeats, a soft smile playing on her lips. I capture her mouth in a gentle kiss, pouring all my devotion and affection into it. When we break apart, I rest my forehead against hers. Rest now, love. We've earned it. As exhaustion washes over us, I guide my Kaza to lie back against the pillows, tucking her into my embrace. Her body molds perfectly against mine, a fit so natural it's as if we were made for each other. I stroke her hair, listening to her heart's steady beat, feeling her chests rise and fall against mine. In this peaceful moment, surrounded by the aftermath of our passion, I realize just how deeply I've fallen for her. Sleep eventually claims us, and our intertwined forms a picture of contentment. As I drift off, I know that no matter what challenges may arise, my Kaza and I will face them together, our bond forged in the flames of desire now tempered by the warmth of love. Chapter 21, The Awakening of Power. The aftermath of the battle against the female titan still lingered in my mind. The forest of giant trees stood eerily silent now, except for the occasional distant rumbling of approaching titans. My body ached, my muscles sore from the high-speed combat, but my mind was sharper than ever. Then, my system pinged. System alert. You have unclaimed rewards. Would you like to claim them now? Damn, I had completely forgotten about the lottery tickets and skill scrolls I had been hoarding. With everything that had happened, I hadn't had time to check my inventory properly. Now was as good a time as any. Yeah, open it up. Claiming rewards. Lottery rewards claimed. B rank skill, rapid regeneration, enhances healing speed significantly, allowing recovery from deep wounds in minutes. New energy system unlocked, spiritual pressure, a spiritual energy system similar to Bleach, allowing access to techniques like flash steps and enhanced combat perception. Skill scrolls used, max level D rank skill, blade flow, enhances swordplay fluidity, increasing precision and control. Max level D rank skill, spatial awareness, increases reaction speed and grants a sixth sense for enemy movements. Bonus. Due to the synergy of acquired skills, passive abilities reflexive combat and combat instincts have merged into battle instincts, C rank, enhancing real-time combat adaptation. I felt it immediately. A rush of energy coursed through my body, a foreign sensation flooding my muscles. My breath hitched as my senses expanded. It wasn't just adrenaline, it was something deeper, something primal. Spiritual pressure. I clenched my fist, feeling the raw power circulating inside me. My body felt lighter, more responsive. If I focused, I could sense the life force around me, the scouts, the distant titans, even the fading presence of those who had fallen. Akira, you good? Levi asked, watching me with a sharp gaze. He wasn't one to miss the smallest of details. I nodded. Yeah. Just adjusting. For now, I kept it vague. No way in hell was I explaining my sudden power-up. Harvesting the titans from trust with my body still buzzing from the newfound energy, I accessed my system's farm menu. System farm, harvestable titans available. Back during Drost, I had slain a good number of titans, and thanks to my farm system, I could now reap the rewards. Harvesting, Titan Harvest Rewards, 150 system coins. 3x low-grade Titan Essence, enhances physical stats permanently. 1x Titan Core, small, can be exchanged for unique rewards. Passive Strength Increase, +5 to Strength stat. I felt my muscles tense slightly as the stat increase took effect. I wasn't just getting stronger, I was evolving. And with my new rapid regeneration, I could push my body even further in battle without worry. Testing spiritual pressure and flash steps. I needed to test this. Now. I took a deep breath, focusing on the newly unlocked spiritual pressure coursing through me. Unlike omnidirectional mobility gear, which required calculated movements, this felt more instinctive, more natural. I flicked my foot against the ground, channeling my energy. Boom. I vanished from my spot, reappearing 20 meters away in an instant. What the hell? Eld blurted out. Even Levi raised an eyebrow, though his expression quickly returned to its usual indifference. TCH. So, you're holding back on us? I grinned. Wouldn't be fun if I wasn't. This was it. The start of something new. Mission ahead, but there was no time to bask in my newfound strength. The female titan may have been captured for now, but I knew the enemy wasn't done. The battle for humanity was only just beginning, and I intended to change the course of history. No more pointless deaths. This world was mine to reshape. Chapter 22, Forging the Path Ahead. The battle with the female titan had left us shaken, but there was no time to dwell on our losses. We had barely escaped, yet the looming danger was far from over. The Survey Corps had regrouped at a makeshift camp, licking our wounds and preparing for whatever came next. A moment to recover. Night had fallen, casting long shadows over the camp. Despite the exhaustion, none of us could truly relax. The weight of our failure hung heavy in the air. Levi's squad had taken a hit, and while we had managed to escape with Ren, it was clear that our enemy would not stop here. I sat by the fire, staring into the flickering flames, my mind running simulations of possible next steps. The female titan wasn't just a foe, she was an anomaly. A deviation in expected titan behavior. That meant there were variables I hadn't accounted for. I needed more data. Historia sat beside me, her usual gentle demeanor tempered by an unreadable expression. The others were scattered around, patching up wounds, sharpening weapons, or simply resting in silence. You look lost in thought. Historia finally spoke, her voice quiet but firm. I glanced at her. I'm always in thought. Just trying to piece things together. She sighed. You always seem like you know exactly what you're doing. I smirked. That's just an illusion. Intelligence is less about knowing everything and more about adapting when you know nothing. Her gaze lingered on me for a moment longer before she smiled slightly. That's reassuring, in a way. The system's harvest. After some time alone, I activated the farm system. The titans I had slain in Trost had yet to be fully utilized. Farm system harvest complete, harvested from slain titans, 250 system coins, 3 skill scrolls, D rank, 2 lottery tickets. Titan essence, can be used for crafting or enhancements. I quickly used the skill scrolls, integrating new abilities into my arsenal. New skills acquired, Silent Step, D rank, your movements become quieter, making it harder for enemies to detect you. Quick Draw, D rank, increases speed and precision when drawing a weapon in combat. Weapon Mastery, D rank, increases proficiency with all melee weapons slightly. Then, I turned my attention to the lottery tickets. First lottery draw, congratulations. You have obtained Advanced Combat Awareness, C rank skill acquired, Advanced Combat Awareness, heightens perception and reaction speed in combat situations. Slightly improves prediction of enemy movements. Second lottery draw, congratulations. You have obtained Spiritual Pressure Augmentation, B rank skill acquired, Spiritual Pressure Augmentation, temporarily enhances physical capabilities by channeling spiritual pressure through the body. Increases strength, speed, and durability for a short duration. I exhaled as a surge of power rushed through me. This was exactly what I needed, something to push me beyond my limits. Strengthening bonds. After checking my abilities, I returned to the others. Historia was still by the fire, but this time, she seemed lost in thought. Still thinking? I asked, taking a seat beside her again. She looked up, startled, before relaxing. Yeah. About everything. My past, my future. What I should do. You've got choices. I said. You just have to decide which one you want to take. She hesitated. And if I don't know which one is right? Then take the one that gives you the most control over your future. Overthinking things will only slow you down. She chuckled. You make it sound so simple. I shrugged. It's not. But standing still never helped anyone. She looked at me again, a soft expression in her eyes. You're different from the others, Akira. I raised an eyebrow. That a good thing? She nodded. I think so. Preparing for the next fight. The next morning, Erwin gathered us to discuss our next move. The female titan was still a looming threat, and we needed to prepare for another battle. Erwin stood at the center of the camp, his sharp blue eyes scanning the group. We underestimated our enemy. That won't happen again. The plan is simple. We lay a trap, force her into an enclosed space, and neutralize her ability to transform or escape. Levi crossed his arms. Which means no screw-ups. We move at dawn. Be ready for anything. As I checked my updated stats, a smirk crossed my lips. I was ready. Name, Akira Kurogen, level, 18, spiritual pressure, 180-180, strength, 55, agility, 65, endurance, 60, skills, flash steps, C rank, spiritual pressure, C rank, rapid regeneration, B rank, spiritual pressure augmentation, B rank, advanced combat awareness, C rank, silent step, D rank, quick draw, D rank, weapon mastery, D rank. The war against the Titans was far from over. But this time, I wasn't just fighting to survive, I was fighting to take control of the battlefield itself. Chapter 23, Shifting the Threads of Fate. The plan was set. Erwin's strategy was to lure the female Titan into a trap within the capital's underground tunnels. It was a solid plan, one that had worked in the original timeline to some extent. But I wasn't here to let history repeat itself. Annie Lenhart, the one inside the Titan, was dangerous, but she wasn't evil. Just another pawn in a war she didn't even understand. If things played out the same way, she would be captured, only to end up in the hardened crystal prison. A wasted existence, stuck in stasis for years. I had no intention of playing the hero. I wasn't here to save anyone. But if I could nudge things in a direction where people didn't get screwed over as badly, I'd call that a win. And for me, every step forward meant growth, stronger enemies, more experience, and better loot. The calm before the storm. The sun barely peeked over the rooftops of Stohus district as the Survey Corps prepared for the operation. Civilians had been cleared from the area, under the guise of a training exercise. I watched the soldiers around me, tightening their gear, whispering words of encouragement or prayer. Mikaza was sharpening her blades. Armin was deep in thought, his usual expression of nervous focus. Jean and Connie exchanged uneasy glances, both clearly aware that this wasn't just another Titan-slaying mission. Historia stood nearby, fidgeting with the strap of her omnidirectional mobility gear. I caught her staring at me, eyes uncertain. "You nervous?" I asked, stepping beside her. She hesitated. "A little. It feels different this time." "That's because it is," I said. "Something big is coming. You feel it, right?" She nodded. "Yeah. And you? You don't seem worried." "I don't do worry," I said with a smirk. "I do preparation." She studied me for a moment before sighing. "I don't get you sometimes, Akira.